Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Streakers On podcast. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed caller, double-buckled up, self-proclaimed sports analyst. And maybe these buttons might come flying off with some of my anger later on in the show. But I'm going to introduce the rest of the cast. They don't need an introduction, but they're going to get one anyways. We have Mr. Lane Dashko. We have the one, the only, the Red Hat Menace, Chazzy 6.7. Update pending. And last but not least, the man who doesn't like his veggies but loves his meat, Mr. More for your money. Hey guys, we have an action-packed show today, all right? We're going to talk about getting you settled into week 4 of the CFL. We're also going to talk about some heated comments and some Twitter beef that's been going on in the Canadian Football League. Yes, Twitter beef in 2025. I feel like I'm back in high school.
Be happy.
Or I guess X beef, whatever. NHL trade rumors and recapping some big trades. The Toronto Raptors may be shopping one of their top players and maybe someone they just drafted. What a mess. The NHL draft is right around the corner. We're going to go over the next top 5, getting into our top 10 pending free agents, Leafs talk, and so much more. But I want to start right off here with the Toronto Raptors draftee in the first round. He was picked 9th overall by the Raptors and drops a big old F-bomb as soon as he gets picked. He tried to play it off looking all innocent and like, oh, it's okay. And Lane, you were saying the Raptors are even tweeting back trying to make this a joke, but yeah, this is not a good look.
So I don't know. I'm conflicted, right? Like, so for those who don't know, the NBA draft was tonight, and Colin Murray Boyles was just picked number 9 for the Raptors, and he stood up and I won't say the word, but he turned to his family, went
chicken fingers,
chicken fingers, and he looked really mad. But again, I don't know if this is just, these kids, sometimes they're nervous at the table. They're waiting. You don't know when you're going to get picked. I don't care what all these scouts say and what all these people say. There's only certain people, like Cooper Flagg was number 1. I don't think he doubted that for a second. Last year, Connor McDavid, when he's number 1, I don't think those people doubted it. But when you're like, 5th to 15th, sometimes you're a first round, sometimes you're a second round, you could be sitting there longer than expected. We've seen that in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, all these players. At the end of the day, they don't know when they're getting picked. They're projected to be picked, but they don't know. So exactly. I don't know if he was just kind of like maybe his information from, you never know, maybe his scout said, hey, we're expecting you to go 20th in the draft. And then at number 10, he's like, whoa, what's going on? I didn't know. I'm not trying to say that happened. It doesn't look like that. It looks like he got picked by a Canadian team and went, oh, I don't want to go.
You know what this reminds me of? Do you guys remember when Eric Lindros wouldn't even put on the jersey when he was drafted?
Hey, hey, don't say that. Eric Lindros is a good dude, number 1. Number 2,
he wasn't back then.
Not mad. It came out later in documentary. He was not mad at the city, not mad at the team. He was mad at the owner, at how the owner treated the players and the players' family.
That's not being professional.
To feel that way.
That's not being professional. When you're drafted, you should be honored. You're entering in the highest league that you can possibly get into.
Okay, and where's this kid from who got drafted from the Raptors?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this guy lives in South Carolina his whole life. What does he know about Canada, bro?
What he should know is no. What he should know is he's made the NBA. He should be happier than a pig in poop, being excited that he's going to get a chance to play. Number 2, maybe you don't want to be here. Guess what? Raptor Nation, reading on X and Facebook, they didn't want him either. I'm seeing everyone tweet, why didn't we get a center? Why didn't we get a center? Which, by the way, the Raptors
that's what I was saying.
A center. No. And I'm going to say this right here, right now. The Toronto Raptors need to trade this bum. If he doesn't want to be here,
it was just a bad pick from the Raptors.
It's bad culture to have him here. So just trade him.
Like, why get someone that doesn't want to be here? It makes no sense.
Because they probably, overall, from what I've read, he was
the what
best,
if we don't know that?
What if he doesn't want to be here? Player available. And everyone says just take the best player available with these kids. I think you take what your team needs. That's my 2 cents. But if he doesn't want to be here, then just move him. And
Okay.
move him now. Like he
Now with the NBA,
I don't want him on my G League team. I don't want him in the system. Because if he's going in with this bad of an attitude, we talk about culture and DNA like we're Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl. Let's actually look at that and be like, we don't want players who don't want to be here. And number two, you're lucky to be coming to Canada. Toronto is one of the best cities in the world, and I'm sticking with that. We have everything. Everyone goes on about New York,
including high taxes.
New York. Who the heck wants to go there when it can take you 6 hours just to get on a damn subway? No, you know what's better, amazing about Canada? I can be in Toronto in an hour. I can be out in the middle of nowhere breathing beautiful, clean air. I can get to any airport, go anywhere in the world I want to go to easily. You have a healthcare system. And when you come to Toronto, when you come to Toronto, you have an entire country behind you when you're on the Toronto Raptors. So you're sure you can go to some other American city where basketball isn't even the number one thing going on in the city. The Toronto Raptors are the most valued sports team in Canada, one of the highest valued sports teams in North America. You can shake your head all you want, Mr. Calculator. I'm just speaking numbers. And by the numbers, the Toronto Raptors are worth more than the Leafs. They're worth more than the Jays. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're up there with the New York Rangers. They are one of the most valuable sports teams in North America. And if you don't want to be at a team that literally won a championship not that long ago, well, fine. You can go somewhere else. Don't get your playing time, and then you can get all pissy about it. But no, I am sick and tired of people not wanting to play in this great country.
And guess who owns
but I am sick of
the Raptors?
Now, we don't. Again, we won't know for sure. Jacob,
the Raptors are worth more than the Leafs, Dan. Read a book.
But the Leafs own the Raptors.
MLSC is yes, but if you break down the teams, that's like saying the Argos are worth as much as the Toronto Maple Leafs because they're owned by the same person. They're not.
I'm just saying. The other thing, too, is
an Escalade and a Sunfire when they were new were worth the same because they were both owned by General Motors.
The other thing, too, is you got to blame the Raptors. Now, in the NBA, are they allowed to interview players before they pick? Right? So you think you could interview, like a hockey, right? So you think you could interview the guy and say, hi, guy from South Carolina, do you want to come in North Pole? If the answer is no, then don't draft him.
So, okay, let me just play advocate in the room. Let me just play advocate in the room. We still don't know. Maybe he does want to play. Maybe he's going to come out and be super committed. This is the first day. He just got drafted. It looks bad now because social media likes to do this. They like to jump on and make memes, and he's going to be a GIF in the news, and they're going to make fun of him. But then 3 months, what if he comes on the court, plays his heart out, says, I love this city. I don't know where that came from. I love this place. I want to be here.
Where it came from. It came from the horse's mouth.
We don't. But he could just be excited.
We do know that. I just saw it.
Okay, you could be nervous, Jacob. You've never been nervous in
your
life?
You don't shake your head, roll your eyes, and swear and get on the stage and look pissed off the entire time.
The Raptors could be the rival of his favorite team.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he had a bad night. Maybe he had a bad dinner before.
He had a bad night.
I don't know. Let's see. Like, it's the first night. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jacob. I agree. If he doesn't want to be here, get rid of him. But let's think. Let's at least play it out because I don't think they would not have interviewed this guy. I think they would have talked to him. I'm assuming they would have. They do interview all the players that are supposed to go 1 to 15, so they obviously have some sort of information on him. They wouldn't just
anyone
pick him.
Can look good in an interview for 5 minutes. They're so they're so coached, these interviews.
True.
Like, these interviews mean absolutely nothing, in my opinion.
Well,
like, it means about as much as Madden football telling me it's going to be a realistic game next year. It means absolutely nothing. Like, the end of the day, it's just a bad look. And you know what, too? I agree with you boys. It is a bad look on the franchise itself.
It is.
I don't know why. Number one, why are we getting another wing forward when we don't need any more? Unless... we're talking about this later in the show, but is this confirming that RJ Barrett is on the trading block? Because
why would you trade RJ Barrett? You just got that good center on trade deadline to show everyone that you're going to be a good team next year, which made no sense, by the way. So why would you do that and then trade one of your good players? Isn't Barrett Canadian too?
Yeah, he is.
Right? So you got a Canadian guy that actually wants to be here. You got a good player, you bought a good player on the trade deadline when you had no reason of making the playoffs whatsoever.
Actually, if they didn't get injuries, they might have squeaked in and got smoked in the first.
That's
round.
a load of crap, and you
no,
know
it's
that.
not.
It's not. They were there.
They were legitimate. You got to remember, in the NBA, you can be terrible and you can still make the play-in.
It's true.
I get that, but they were beyond terrible.
Which, by the way,
They were
another
not
quick thing here is
watchable.
people criticize the Canadian Football League about having
Please.
teams that are under 500 making the playoffs. NBA, we see it every bloody year.
Oh, I
Man,
think the NBA is worse than
How many
that,
teams
for
does
sure.
the NBA have? That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, more in the East, it seems, lately.
That's
Which
true.
is
Yeah.
Why I'm going to say this again: scrap the East versus West playoff format. Top 16 teams,
Yeah. I like that idea.
and scrap this play-in thing. One game makes a bad team can make the playoffs. That's just
Yeah,
idiotic.
stupid.
At least make it a best of 3. Any team
Yeah.
can beat any team at least once.
Right.
Yeah.
Look,
It'll be interesting.
Edmonton beat Florida twice in the Stanley Cup Finals. Do we think Edmonton deserved the Stanley Cup if it was a 1 game off? No. I don't get with basketball. I get with football because it's a physical sport. You can't play more than 1 game a week in football. They did it once during COVID, and it was a complete disaster.
I wish
Like,
you
they had,
could.
like,
That'd be awesome.
13
if that
injuries
was
in, like, a
game of the
quarter.
week.
But I think it's time we move on to the NHL. And the trade bracket has been very busy lately, which Craig, you and I were talking off camera, and I think there's going to be more trades coming. I actually think with a weaker draft class and a weaker free agent class, I shouldn't even say weaker. There's less superstars on the free agents available this year.
Yeah, I was
There's
going to
gonna
say,
be a lot of
the word
trades.
weak.
That's what everyone else is using. I would say it's more.
I
depth
get that, but I
players
don't
available.
agree with it.
I view it's more depth players available.
Yeah,
versus-
100%. And you, for to prove it, you win the Stanley Cup of depth players.
Well, you win the
So
Stanley Cup
whoever
against
gets
the-
signed this free agency
crap
could be
players.
the difference of winning a cup and not winning a cup. I really believe that.
But let's start off with the Vancouver Canucks making a deal for Evander Kane, trading a 4th
Oh,
round draft
yeah.
pick for him.
Yeah.
Only a 4th rounder.
Okay, but let me explain
That's what
why
I
it's only
said.
a 4th. Evander Kane has a salary cap of $5.125 million. He's realistically a $2 million player max. Realistically, at his age and his health issues, he's a $2 million player. So what Vancouver did, they're like, look, we feel we need a guy like this in our dressing room. We need a guy with more energy and more spunk, and we need someone that can bring physicality and playoff experience. Edmonton desperately needs to dump salary since they're going to pay Evan Bouchard $10 million to continue to be blown the doors off of when he pinches on unnecessarily, and going to keep paying Darnell Nurse $9.5 because no one in God's name's taking that contract. But they move Evander Kane so they have room, right? But for Vancouver, you're getting a good asset. I actually think this is a good hockey trade. This is a good hockey trade.
100%.
Edmonton clears cap space and gets rid of a player that they clearly didn't want. Vancouver adds some much needed depth. Lane, you're raising your hand like you're in grade 3, so you either have to go to the bathroom or you have a comment.
I disagree. I look at Evander Kane, and okay, here's what I'll say. Evander Kane, I think his stock took a hit, obviously, in the last round there in the Stanley Cup Finals, with not coming out for the handshake, with showing immaturity, with playing like a tilted player, not being emotional, disrespect the anthem. I get that. He's showing a lot of immaturity. That probably took a hit on his capital. And what have we been talking about this whole time with Edmonton? Get a goalie! Get a goalie! A goalie! You could have gotten a goalie, someone who, the guy who stops that does this and then goes, oh, I made it say, oh, I did this. Get a goalie. What are you doing? You don't need a 4th round pick. A 4th round pick doesn't win you a Stanley Cup. A 4th round pick plays on your team 10 years from now or plays in the ECHL. Get a goalie. You should have got Seeloff. You should have found a way to get Seeloff out of Vancouver. They don't need 3 goalies. You needed 1 goalie. You failed. You got rid of a good player who only makes $5 million in a cap raising for a 4th round pick. That Stan Bowman, you need to quit. Go work at the bakery because you suck.
No, but
Actually, you raise a very good point because I do love the trade for Vancouver. I think this for Vancouver could be the missing piece. I really do. I think this could replace a blockbuster playing with Elise Pettersson. It brings some physicality. It brings leaves.
Whoop, whoop. Breaking news. Da-da-da, da-da-da. JJ Peterka is heading to the Utah Mammoth.
Whoa!
Right, Pop, coming in clutch in the group chat.
Oh.
JJ Peterka is heading to Utah.
Didn't we have a viewer earlier too say Marner could go to Utah?
We've been here.
We did.
Depending on salary. Thing is, in Utah's a group that is. I did not mean to cut you boys off. I apologize, but breaking news cuts off. Quasi's so put off, he just turned his camera off.
I like that trade.
This is phenomenal. I don't know what they gave up, and truthfully, I don't really care. Utah's close. They are very close.
Yeah,
to making it to the playoffs.
Wow.
The chips are starting to fall in Buffalo. I think you're going to see a lot more trades coming up soon.
Jazzy is frozen in shock.
Just frozen.
I was going. There you go.
But
I was going to say with Evander Kane, though, great trade for Vancouver, but Lane put out a very good point. I agree with Lane that a fourth round pick is not enough. And if we really had to give up a little bit more to get a goalie with it, they should have got somebody,
Like, I just don't know how that makes you better. Like
cap space to go get somebody.
I guess, but you could have gotten somebody
when you don't have the $5 million in cap.
Okay,
but Lane said the cap's going up.
I understand that, but even with the cap going up,
it doesn't
look like they're going to have. They needed the room to do it, and by doing that, put it this way: would have you traded Evander Kane for Jake Allen?
Yes.
Jake Allen's a free agent. He's probably going to get paid between 3 and 5. That's how you look at it if you're Edmonton, right?
Right.
If you can get him,
for all you know, maybe for Shelovs, Vancouver probably wants more than a third to fourth line overpaid old player.
I'm disappointed that the Leafs didn't get Evander Kane. This is exactly what Toronto needs.
We already
because you might not get Matty Knives, so you need a guy to replace.
Knives gonna get done.
I would have loved to see Evander Kane as a Leaf.
You just want to see him without a shirt on.
I've always seen it on Instagram. It's good, dude.
I don't know. I know he went a little bit over dramatic there, but I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you.
Lane. They need a goalie, and if they don't get a goalie in this offseason, then you'll look back at this trade and say, why not use Evander Kane as an asset to go get one? But if they use this, because you got to look at it, right? John Gibson gets paid 6. Evander Kane's 5.1. This could be just clearing cap space to go make a flip for a guy like John Gibson. And John Gibson, in my opinion, if the Edmonton Oilers had John Gibson this year, there's a very good chance they would have won that cup.
And Jacob,
and
Jacob, here's the thing, right? So you ask about Jake Allen, right? But according to Pierre LeBrun, 8 teams are asking about Jake Allen. And you could have gotten a guy so you're going to go into a bidding war that you potentially don't win because 8 teams are vying for Jake Allen. So Jake Allen might be getting $6 million because if you're offering 4, San Jose's offering 6. Jake Allen's at this point of his career where he's going to chase the bag, right?
Yeah, but if I'm Edmonton, I'm paying Jake Allen $6 million. I'm fine with that.
I just want to say quickly, JJ Paterka, that's an interesting trade because he's a restricted free agent, which I didn't know that.
There's going to be more of that.
For Utah, that's huge, and I didn't know this. Okay, he got 68 points. And he was only a -1 on Buffalo.
He's a very good player.
27 goals, 41 assists. I mean, that's a great trade for Utah because even though they both missed the playoffs, I think Utah is a much better team than Buffalo.
I want to see if we see it.
And we can look out the window.
Also, too, I'd like to state, from what I'm hearing, Buffalo is not done.
Yeah. No,
I still think Tage Thompson's going to be available, and that's still who I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to go get.
How are you going to afford that?
By not signing old farts for 6+. But there was another big trade recently, which was Trevor Zegras was traded to the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'm going to say this. I don't understand this trade for either side.
So I need to talk.
I don't think Zegras makes Philly a playoff team.
I think it does.
I don't think this makes Anaheim better. I think Zegras is worth more than a second-round pick, even with his down. I get it's a second, fourth, and another roster guy. I don't feel this is enough for Trevor Zegras for me to be willing to move him. As much as he struggled, he's still young, and I think you put him with the right line mates and the right situation. I think he could be a good player.
I was surprised they got so little for him too.
Jacob, there's someone I need to talk to. I need to speak to the GM of the Anaheim Ducks. Oh, there he is. I need to ask you something, Mr. Duck.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Spoiling.
Why are you trading a 23-year-old player who has not hit his ceiling yet? Yes, he's had 2 bad years, but you trade him for Ryan Poehling, who's an AHL player, a 2nd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick for a 23-year-old who still has a ceiling of being a franchise center. What are you doing?
Oh. We're the Ducks. We're mighty. We have Paul Correa. I don't know what to do. I gotta go.
But
I think this is a great trade for Philly, though. Imagine,
100%.
imagine him and Miskov playing together. Holy cow.
I don't know if this is or not because we also hear Zegras has an attitude problem. So
Okay, so Philly was smarting him up.
No, but here's the thing, right? Like, so okay, let's be honest with Trevor Zegras. Let's be real here. Trevor Zegras is a player who, yes, he has talent. There's no denying it. This guy can pull off trick plays like you wouldn't believe. But guess what? The NHL isn't the Harlem Globetrotters. Now he's had good seasons and he's shown a ceiling that can be a franchise center. But in the last 2 years of his career here, he's been dealt with injury prone. He's been dealt with attitude issues. And let's be honest, his points have dropped off significantly, right? So I understand why the Ducks, and this has been going on for a while now with the Ducks rumored, and this has been a long time going with this whole, he might get traded, he doesn't get traded, he might get traded, he doesn't. So this has been a thing that's been talked about for a few seasons now, where I don't think they were feeling like he was a fit here. I just personally feel like you could have gotten a lot more for him because now you're giving Philly the intangibles to put together a guy who has kind of fallen off the car. He's fallen off the wagon a little bit in his NHL career, but he still has that potential to be a 60, 80-point player with the right coaching and the right management because he's shown it. It's not like he hasn't shown it, right? He's had his moment. He's shown he has it. He's just kind of fallen off the wheel a little bit, but he gets behind the right people, gets in the right system that can get him back on track, back in the right health, back in a better mindset here. And now he's playing with his best friend again.
Island mindset.
He's playing with and let's not forget, he's playing with his best friend again in Jamie Drysdale. Ever since Drysdale was traded, that's when you start to notice
That's what I was trying to think here when this trade happened. I'm like, this probably has something to do with that trade of last year when Anaheim traded, Philly traded that Gauthier that they drafted and didn't want to play in Philly, traded him in Anaheim. So, like, we know the GM of Anaheim and GM of Philly, I'm sorry, I forget the names at the moment, they have history of trading high talented roster players. And you notice that in NHL, whether I admit it or not, teams have GMs that they like working with each other, right? Mm-hmm. So if you see one blockbuster trade, don't be surprised to see another one a couple years down the road. And the other thing about Trevor Zegras, too, to point out to Jacobs and Lane's point, I think he's worth way more than what Anaheim got because that's 2 seasons there he sucked. 2 seasons before that, he got over 60 points in each of those years. And you have him under contract to 26 and only a 5.7 cap hit. That's a great bargain considering he's just going to get better. You put him in Philly with Miskov, for example, he could be getting 70 points easy. And again, I'm kind of surprised that Toronto didn't go after Zegras because he might have been.
Toronto has enough hot-headed underperforming.
No, he might be a nice replacement for Mitch Marner. You need to get those 100 points somewhere. If you put him on the wing with Captain Underpants, it might be good.
No.
So,
Mamma mia, let me go. That doesn't make any sense for Toronto. I think for Philly it does in a way because Trevor Zegras is the type of player your roster doesn't have. Everyone keeps talking about the Leafs need to change the DNA. You don't change the DNA by bringing in another high-skill guy who doesn't want to get hit, who underperforms. That doesn't solve anything. And Philly needs talent. I think we could all agree to that. The Philadelphia Flyers are desperate for talent. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks are desperate for mediocre draft picks, apparently.
But, Dan, I do think you're onto something. And this is something my friend actually said. I do think you're onto something. I think the Cutter Gauthier trade because they had to get rid of him, right?
Right.
They had to get rid of him. The Ducks took him on and gave them not maybe what he was worth. So I do think you're onto something, that this was kind of like a IOU. So it's
Right.
like, they had to get rid of their guy. We gave you something not as great. Now we have to get our guy, so you're not going to give us something great. So I do think you are onto something, because I have heard my friends think that, and I started to think when I thought of that, I'm like, that actually makes sense, right? Because they traded Cutter Gauthier to the Ducks, who has a lot of potential and talent, and they had to get rid of him. He wouldn't play there, and now you got Zegras, who's had issues here. So it's kind of like an IOU, kind of like you said, a bouncing back. Like, we gave you this, so here's the fulfillment later.
That's the very first thing that came in my mind when this trade happened. And that Gauthier has turned out to be a pretty decent player for Anaheim.
But he didn't. But this, funny enough, this is very similar to the Raptors situation, I think. If a player doesn't want to be on your team, get rid of him.
Well, that's exactly what they did.
Like, I think the Zegras BS in Anaheim has taken way too long. He's
like, Gauthier had 44 points last year, and he was a +8 on Anaheim, which is pretty crazy, in my opinion. I mean, you could have, or if there was a different, I think this year the rookie class was so high caliber. I think if it was another year, he could have won Rookie of the Year. I mean, 44 points and +8 on Anaheim? Like, come on, that's pretty bloody good, if you gotta ask me. And I know this wasn't on the strip, Jacob, but I just want to add one more thing to the moves that happened today in the NHL before we move on to the next topic, whatever that topic is. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, whatever that topic is, something important happened today no one's talking about, so I want to talk about it. Vegas signed Riley Smith to a phenomenal 1-year, $2 million deal. And this kind of brings back to my point of what I think we're going to see happening. I think we're going to see short-term contracts for quick money so players can take the gamble, win the Stanley Cup, and then sign long-term when the cap goes up again. I think it's kind of going to handcuff teams in the future, but for now, I think it's great. I think Riley Smith easily could have got more than double on the open market. Again, you look at the Maple Leafs. Maybe. Wouldn't we love to have Riley Smith on our third line for $4 million?
No, you already have Scott Lawton.
No, I'm talking as a winger.
Are they? Is he just setting up and he wants to stay because he knows Marner's coming to town?
Oh, maybe.
Which, by the way, brings us to our next thing about potentially William Karlsson being moved out of Vegas. And there's been some rumblings. And I don't think this will happen because I don't think Marner's going to be – I think Marner's not going to help out Toronto in these situations. But I've heard rumblings of Toronto trying to see if they could shop Marner to Vegas to try to bring in William Karlsson. You can shake your head how you want. You talk about needing to replace the points. How about a guy that's won a Stanley Cup? He's a two-way forward. He's physical when he needs to be. I really like William Karlsson. And he's a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder because everyone's always underestimated him.
I wouldn't mind that. That'd be a good set.
It won't happen because even at Mitch Marner, I feel like will not be traded, even if it's to the team that he wants to sign it. Yeah. I think he's still butthurt about the whole Rantanen thing. Which, by the way, for fans who are still butthurt about it, get over it. We were dumb enough to give him a no move clause, so he's entitled to use it.
But how could he be traded if he's?
You can trade his rights, so a team can sign him before, and then they could sign to an 8-year deal with that team instead of a 7.
Before the first.
Yeah. So let's say Vegas wants to get this done before San Jose can offer him 15. So Vegas could trade for Mitch Marner's rights. However, Mitch Marner still currently has a no-move clause. So he can just say, no. I'm not taking that trade. I'm not getting out of here. No. Thank you. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Especially after that.
Apparently, too, Mitch Marner was rumored to be seen at least, looking at houses in the Vegas area. So I think he's going to Vegas.
Wow. Now, I'm pretty sure they can only trade him up until the draft is over. I think once the NHL draft is over, there's like a freeze. There's a few-day freeze. Like I think once the draft is officially over. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I heard Vegas is the team to beat, not for Mitch Marner. I think I heard the Anaheim Ducks are still, according to Elliot Friedman, are still in play to make a big offer and hope they can maybe reel him in. Maybe the streamer duck is onto something up there in the corner over there. But so I heard they're still in play, but it's sounding like, from all terms on account, it sounds like Mitch Marner is potentially going to Vegas.
I've heard Vegas, Carolina, and Chicago are kind of the three big fish going after him.
I don't see Vegas getting Mitch Marner. I can see
I
Mitch
do.
Marner wanting a Goldberg because, I mean, who doesn't want to live in Vegas, right? I mean,
I don't.
I would. Well, you're dumb. Vegas is awesome. But it's like, you know, which Vegas has been commented saying both things about Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner does not fit Vegas' style of play. I mean, I just don't see it. I mean, man, you look at the Zegras trade. Maybe that's why Anaheim traded Zegras to free up $5 million extra to spend on Mitch Marner. I don't know, but you know
what I know? I just know things. But it'll be interesting to see with the Marner watch. I'm not sure where he's going yet. If I was gonna lay it on the line, I am going to be saying Marner to Vegas. Now, remember, too, if you're thinking Marner's going to make more than $14 million, make sure you jump on the Streakers app, as it's in our sports booth, which, by the way, make sure you stay locked in because we're going to have a huge free agent frenzy special.
Live show.
I haven't quite told the guys what it is yet, but that's okay. I've been planning things. I love to just surprise them. But
live show.
But more drama in Leafland besides just Marner not wanting to be here. I don't know why we care so much about Marner, but as Michael Jackson says, they don't really care about us. And John Tavares is still having some issues getting his deal done. Tavares wants $5 million. The Leafs want to pay him $4 million. So now, mind you,
how many years?
Tavares wanted $8 million. And Lane, you brought up a really good point about this, that you think this is just tree living.
Yeah.
Smart.
So, yeah, basically, in my opinion, at least in my opinion, I think this is just at least having an actual GM for the first time in 10 years.
Not Dubas.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, Kyle Dubas, I could brag on him all I want. At the end of the day, I think he was extremely inexperienced. And I don't really think he knew how to hardball players. I think he just kind of was like, he's Mr. Friendly. I'll just give you money and I'll give you whatever you want. I'll give you 7 candy bars and I'll give you this and I'll give you that. But let's be honest, the way how you actually win the NHL is you got to play hardball. You got to just say, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm giving you $2 million, which we all know they're not going to do. But this is what Brad Schliving does, and this is what every NHL team does. So when you read these reports of them saying, well, they're not close, well, they're probably not. Because then the Leafs went, yeah, we'll give you like $3 million. And John Tavares said, yeah, well, I want $8. Well, okay, we know 8's not going to happen. We know 3's not going to happen. So then they'll talk again, and they'll be like, well, now we'll give you 3.5. It's like, well, I'll take 7. And then, you know, another few days goes by, and it's now I'll give you 4, and I'll take 6. So they're going to keep playing this game back and forth with the agent and the GM of, oh, we'll give you 4.2. Well, I'll take 6.2. And then at some point in the next 4 or 5 days, you're going to see, well, John Tavares agreed to a 3-year, $5 million contract, and there you go. Boom, it's up. So I think that's going to happen with John Tavares, and I believe that's what's happening with Matthew Knies. There's reports out there that we also talked about that Nick Kyprios has said that, you know, Matthew Knies isn't close. I think it's the same thing. It's Matthew Knies saying, well, I want 8.5. At least they're saying, we'll give you a bridge deal, and then, you know, a few days will go by, this whole song and dance, and then it'll be like, 6.5 for 4 years.
Yeah, that's the number
now
from Matthew Knies.
I heard some rumors already about Matthew Knies.
Whoa, Chazzy changed his shirt.
It's freezing down here.
But I've also heard some rumors, boys, that Calgary is going to be willing to offer sheet Matthew Knies.
I can see
what?
That.
Who?
Calgary Flames. Could you not imagine a top line in Calgary of Huberdeau, Knies, and Kadri?
Well, Huberdeau's useless, but the other two are good.
Who knows? Huberdeau might be a lot better.
You guys don't sound upset by losing Knives. I thought you'd be a little more upset.
I am upset about it.
Honestly, I will be furious if we lose Matthew Knies unless we'll make a trade for a player like Tom Wilson. That's the only way I'm okay losing Matthew Knies. Because Matthew Knies is a special player. He's physical, he's big, and he's got hands. Number 2, You're telling me Evander Kane is not overpaid at $5 million, but Matthew Knies is only worth $6.5? Your calculator's broken. Look at the numbers.
No, I think Evander Kane is overpaid. I really do. I think Evander Kane's at this point, it's like you're right, Jake. It's worth about 1.5 to 2. But I still think it's a good choice for Vancouver because Vancouver needs someone. They need something. They don't have anything. They need to change the dressing room. They need to change the DNA. And like about lumping, Evander Kane is a controversial person, and he will change us. Not going to sit there in the corner of the dressing room quietly and say nothing. Okay? So, number one. Number two, I think Lane is dead on the money at 6.5 for Matthew Knies. Fast the magic number.
No.
Fast the magic number. Would steal 6.5.
How many years? How many years more for?
2. No, 2. I will give him a short-term deal.
Because you know what's going to happen then? You're going to give him like 12. No. Give him 8 over 5 right now.
Oh God.
Yes. $8 million over 5 years, and you're in year 3 and he's a 40 goal scorer, you're gonna be happier than a pig and poop. Because
they're gonna be stuck in the same problem we're in now.
Think about this. Think about this. Do you remember when Brad Treliving could have signed William Nylander to 9.5 in the offseason? He's like, no, you need to do better. Now we're paying him 11.5. So pay Matthew Knies 8 now on a 5-year deal. Because that's what he wants, apparently.
5, okay.
That is
6.5 or 5.
Reasonable. That is reasonable. Because then you're going to have the space anyways, and that's why I'm more than fine. I'll be honest with you guys. The more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, I don't want John Tavares back. You guys always keep going on about DNA problems, and that's what everyone ever says. What is the biggest part of a DNA of any sports team? You never mind any business, anything. Leadership. John Tavares has been a sorry excuse for a captain. He's been a sorry excuse of an assistant captain. He can't skate. Move on. And call him on his bluff. Because I really don't think he is going to leave Toronto. I think he either resigns or retires.
I have a conspiracy theory.
If he was more passionate about hockey, he would have been up watching the Four Nations and not going to bed. He would have been angry when he wasn't the captain anymore. He would have showed some spunk when we were getting our asses kicked in Game 7. John Tavares is not it. I'm sorry. How come the New York Islanders got so much better when they let him go?
I have a conspiracy theory about John Tavares that I want to share on this episode. Because I have not shared this with anyone yet. I think that Jacob's on to something, and John Tavares only wants to stay as a Maple Leaf. He has his life here in Southern Ontario. He has a house in Muskoka in the summertime. He has his nannies for his kids, blah, blah, blah. I get that. The problem with John Tavares is Matt Duchene. You can thank him for ruining all his negotiation packets. Because Matt Duchene signed for 4.5 for 3 years, or 4 years. Sorry, 4.5 for 4 years. And Matt Duchene and John Tavares, I would say, are comparable, but Matt Duchene is a much better player. He's younger, he's faster, and he was a point-to-game player, and he wasn't a complete disaster in most of the playoffs. So I think after Matt Duchene signing a 4.5, because on the open market, Matt Duchene would get 8, just like John Tavares would every day of the week.
I'm not paying John Tavares.
But because he got signed for 4 in Dallas, the hometown discount for John Tavares is $4 million. Now, here's my conspiracy theory. I think he's going to sign as an Ottawa Senator.
What?
Closest team to Toronto. He can still go in Muskoka. He can still go back to Toronto during
either. Ottawa doesn't have Giroux locked up.
That's what I'm saying. I think for Leafs, I'm going to sign Claude Giroux to replace John Tavares. And Claude Giroux will get signed to Toronto, I would say about 5.5. And I would say Ottawa will sign John Tavares for around 7 to 8. And that's my crazy conspiracy theory.
Well, you do think about it, Tavares could still live in Toronto and play in Ottawa or Buffalo, and I don't see him
100% he could. But who wants to go to Buffalo? I think John Tavares wants to look out a window every so often.
Okay, Joffrey.
Well, it has to be Ottawa.
No, but I look at this though. If I'm the Leafs, I think Tavares is bluffing.
Oh,
he doesn't want to leave. He has admitted he doesn't want to leave.
That's why he's going to Ottawa. He doesn't have to leave.
And if you want to pay Brad Marchand, Apparently, the Leafs are willing to pay Marchand $9 million a year over 3 years.
I don't mind that.
And
I don't think so.
Dan, you could say it's too much, but if you think Tavares is worth 8 in the open market, Brad Marchand just came off a point per game playoffs as a third liner.
And
he's
not
a winner, and he's older.
Dan, but you're forgetting
he's a winner.
Yeah.
And
again, if you thinking it was smart that Vancouver brought in Evander Kane, who's a loser.
And Jacob,
Brad Marchand's got 2 cups.
Yeah, not only that, he's like Billy at the Goat in that storybook. You don't get by him every time. He's like Billy the Goat when you try to get by the
I
grid.
don't put him in the press box. I don't care.
I don't know. Like at some point, it's like if you can't beat him, join him, right?
Join him, yeah.
Every year for the last literally 11 years, feels like Brad Marchand somehow shows up and knocks you out of the playoffs, whether it's been on Boston, now Florida. He's always been a menace for this team. I say you sign him. You get him on your team. Clearly, he's doing something right. So
I want to sign him, but $9 million and for 3 years, he's going to be over 40 years old at the end of his contract. $9 million cap hit.
Who cares? Just say he's injured. Dump him in IR and have it not go against your cap. If it gets the Leafs a big playoff push, who cares?
You got LTI for a reason.
I think he's worth 7. He only got paid $6 million this year.
You're telling me John
away.
Tavares is worth more than Brad Marchand? I want some of that glue you're huffing.
Yeah.
No.
No. I'm with Jacob. That's
John
crazy.
Tavares, in my opinion, I think 5's what he's worth at most, even in open market. He can't skate.
He's slow.
He's slow. He's only been a point per game player once in the playoffs his whole bloody career. So why does everyone want this guy so badly?
I want that Team Canada junior moment from John Tavares.
You're not going to get that anymore. He doesn't have that. And by the way, I think half the reason why he's even had those moments is because Aaron Ekblad was doing all the work.
That guy wasn't on that team.
I mean, not Aaron Ekblad, Jordan Eberle.
There you go. Yeah.
Jordan Eberle. Who, by the way, talk about DNA. Good Lord. That's a guy to go after, but he's not leaving.
The Quasaroo, a Maple Leaf, and John Tavares, a Senator. Let's go.
But
call it here on the island, July 1st.
Lane, I believe you found out some more information on the JJ Peterka move.
I believe I have. I don't want to confirm it, but there's a lot of it's still being debated. But right now, the talk is it's supposed to be the 4th round pick, like the 4th pick of the draft. Lawson Krause, and supposedly JJ Peterka has to sign an extension. Now that's still being held up right now. There's still apparently the trade isn't official. There might be some contingency. The trade actually might be called off if this doesn't get done. And so it's not 100% official, but it's sounding like from everything I've been seeing, sounds like it's going to be Lawson Krause, the 4th pick of the draft, going to Buffalo, and JJ Peterka has to sign an extension. I'll keep seeing if I see updates, but that's what I've been seeing floated around on X from a lot of people here. But this
Close is a pretty decent player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's decent.
Now, speaking of X, not any of our exes, because all our exes live in Texas. That's why we hang our hats in Tennessee. Luke Willson has stirred the pot so much in the Canadian Football League over his comments on the air and doubling down on them on X that he may make Chef Ramsay make him a clam chowder. I'm gonna read you guys some of the quote. I don't want to read the whole tweet because it's very long. Currently, the tweet, by the way, has over 300,000 views and over 280 comments and over 120 retweets. So it's
trying to make his X profile more famous. Or something?
It's very, very buzzing. So this is after the Argos Rough Rider game that finished 39-32. Both Morpho and I were at the game. It was a real barn burner of a game. Yeah, there were a lot of penalties, which was part of the thing that he was ranting about. But just to go on here, and I'm just going to read you some sections from his tweet because people are furious, myself included. I'm going to be honest with you boys. Let's start off here with where he says, if the goal is to grow the game to attract a younger demographic, the on-field product of Saskatchewan versus Toronto was not going to cut it. That game was hot garbage. Then he goes on to say, let me be clear, this isn't a talent thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're going on that it's garbage and you didn't like the play on the field, That's a shot at the players. I don't care.
Yeah.
Number 2, I agree with his comment about the penalties. 29 penalties for 307 yards is ridiculous. Now, there was a really, really dirty block by the Rough Riders that took out an Argo player of the game, and that's what sparked a lot of this fire. It's kind of like when you see a hockey game end and there's 200 penalty minutes in it because everyone's trying to beat everyone up. But we're going to continue here. Now, let's go to the end of the game. It's junk ball. Yes, I said it. Junk football. First of all, Saskatchewan misses a 33 chip shot field goal. We see this in the NFL plenty of times, kickers missing field goals. Just putting that out there, people, which would have basically sealed the game. Number 2, no one wouldn't have. There was just under 3 minutes left. And if you don't know, a 2-score game under 3 minutes is very attainable in the Canadian Football League. Because guess what? You don't have 40 seconds per play just to run out 2 minutes without having to even run a damn play. So that's why this game wouldn't have been over yet. Okay, anyway, so then he goes on to complain about it counting as a point for missing a field goal. This is the oldest rule in football. Even if you go back to old school American football, the rouge was part of it. Look it up. That's a fact. Now, he continues to say that, which would have sealed it, they kicked the ball off. It was a 9-play drive with a touchdown, was 1 penalty, 1 incompletion. Every other play is a tackle in bounds. No time. Either way, every play was not a tackle in bounds. No timeouts being used with a 1:39. No big plays either. All check downs. Number 2, a check down throw is a throw that is basically to your running back or to someone only 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. They were not all check down passes. For considering this guy played football, he clearly doesn't even know. No slight of urgency needed for a 2-minute drive. So like college football, where the clock stops after every first down, Canadian football, final 3 minutes, the clock stops until the play is reset. That is a rule in Canadian football, which is how we see so many lead changes in the last 3 minutes of a half, of the first half and the second half. Then he continues for a 3-down throwing lead. There are only 4 total completions over 20 yards. Again, there were 7, so there were more than 4. 7 is a bigger number than 4.
Maybe you can only count to 4.
Then he said there were 12 quarterback sneaks. I repeat, 12. Okay. So you're telling me on 3rd and short, what, you should run 3 yards back to hand it to a running back? I don't know why it's like when everyone complains about the Philadelphia Eagles doing the tush push. Why are you mad that a team is running a play correctly? That's like getting mad when a team scores goals and they say, well, the goal wasn't nice. Who the hell cares? And then here's the other thing, too, that really bothers me here. Luke Willson goes on to call media and podcasters. I log on to social media after the game and tweet after tweet about how amazing the CFL is because of kick return ending. I don't know how you don't think a kick return ending isn't exciting, by the way. Even articles and podcasters declaring the CFL the greatest, it's bold-faced lies. The league and the people who cover it are trying so hard to protect the game, and their lack of honesty is ruining it. Why can't we call it as it is, a bad football game? Let me be clear. Now he sounds like Barack Obama. If the goal is to grow the game for a younger demographic, the sort of stuff will not do it. You have a better chance at pissing in a hot sauce bottle than having any sort of substantial growth with games like that. Like to say, the CFL is one of the only sports leagues that are seeing increasing in TV ratings year on to year on. Again, we saw just over 1.3 million people watch football that in week 3.
That's a lot.
So is he talking about the league or is he talking about this specific game?
To me, he's calling out both. About this game and about the league. And then to end it all, he says, disclaimer, please don't respond. There are bad games in the NFL. Yes, there most certainly are. But the NFL doesn't have the same issues the CFL does, which there are only 4 games on a weekend, which is significant to an audience. That is the dumbest excuse to why there can be dud NFL games I've ever heard. Oh, well, there's a lot of them. Like, come on. Like, I'm sorry, but this is just absolutely ridiculous. This is a guy that TSN is paying to cover this league. They are paying him with money that he's supposed to be earning. And to complain about half of the things that you're saying in the CFL, you literally just basically said, I don't like the CFL rules. Because the way the game is structured, with 3 minutes left, there is plenty of time. And with 3 minutes left, you can see up to 4 possession changes, realistically. Okay? That's just the way the league is built. Tell me that's not exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
And when he's getting mad that some people are calling him out because he actually had a Twitter beef with Michael Ball, the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, he's getting all pissy about it. It's like no one's calling you out for arguing the amount of penalties were ridiculous. Because
the penalties were ridiculous.
The penalties were ridiculous. Like, but to call it a hot garbage game and the league a bold-faced lie, that's just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm saying it now. I'm put off TSN has not let him go yet from CFL coverage.
That's crazy.
I agree. I honestly hope he's not on the broadcast Friday night. I don't want to see this clown.
No, and especially in the climate we're in right now with America versus Canada and all that. You're a Canadian-born player. Have some pride for your country and have some pride for your league, bro. I get you went to the NFL making money, fine. But for him to run his mouth the way he did, he was some tight end scrum in the NFL on the Seattle Seahawks. It wasn't like he was the best NFL player of all time. Like, who is he to say that what's good and what's not good?
And what's interesting, too, is he's getting a lot of backlash, right? Like, you have...
He needs to get a haircut, but he can make a comment.
And he's not nearly as dashing as Lane Dashing Dashko.
No, of course not.
He's getting a comment back here from Michael Ball. Yeah, like I said, one of the voices of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he is a CFL podcaster. Right? He said, let me preach for a second. The third down game is not broken. It doesn't need fixing. And it sure as hell doesn't need some smug drive-bys from people who don't truly watch or care. I'm sick of information from these haters who just chirp.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he tweeted out his shirt, "Our balls are bigger." Saying is, I'll say this as simple as I can. The 3-down game of football was the best version of the game on the planet. That's debatable. I personally prefer it, but I also get why some people prefer the NFL game. But again, he has his right to say it. The CFL is the most exciting brand of pro football by world-class athletes. Full bleep and stop, which I'm not going to say it because then we will be shut down on Spotify. So then Luke Willson decides to tweet back at him. Again, I don't fully get why Luke Willson is going after this guy. Ha 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 ha. New top numpty alert. This guy literally proves my point, but is too stupid to realize it. Don't say a bad word about the league, even if it's true. Stand up and shout out that we're better than the NFL. Of course, no one answers your calls.
What?
I don't get this from Luke Willson whatsoever. Then he also, with the balls are bigger t-shirts, he tweets a bunch of clown face emojis. Like, what are we in grade 4?
Right.
Like, and I don't understand why. And I'm curious what your guys' perspective is. Why does Luke Willson seem so surprised people are mad at him? Yeah. Like, you came out like to me, I'm just going to say this, like a total ass. And you're going on and on about this. And to be blunt, I don't even find half of his takes are realistic from that game. You got a lot of the facts wrong.
I think the fact that he's so surprised how everyone's reacting is proving to my point that he's not as big as what he thinks he is. He thinks because he has this little show of Jay Onright on TSN.
Which, let's be honest, everyone watches for Jay Onright, not for
Right, exactly. No one even gives a crap of who Luke Willson is. A lot of comments I hear is who's this bum on TV or Jay Onright because his hair is ridiculous. It's like, at the end, he's not some Hall of Fame NFL player. Okay? I could have been a tight end in Seattle Seahawks that year won a Super Bowl. Okay? It's like saying you're a fourth liner in hockey and saying, oh, yeah, well, blah, the NHL to change all the rules. Blah. It's like, who do you think you are? And this proves the point. It's like, really? People are mad? Like, look at Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky is arguably the best player in history. And even he is, everyone's still mad at him because of his comments and the way he's treating Canada. Wayne Gretzky is much bigger name of Canadians than Luke Willson. Okay? So if everyone's going to be mad at Wayne Gretzky, obviously they're going to be mad at Luke Willson. Like, hello?
Actually, I want to say, I thought Bo Levi Mitchell worded this best when he was talking to the media. And number 2, I've gained a new respect for Bo Levi Mitchell for defending the Canadian Football League with 2 teams that he wasn't involved in the game whatsoever. Luke, welcome to the CFL. There's going to be quarterback sneaks in games. There's going to be penalties. You tell me a fan that was at the game or watching on TV, and a game comes down to a last second when it's tied, and now a 99-yard return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not exciting. I don't know. That's for him to decide, I guess.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I agree with him. I was standing up for a lot of that game. It was so exciting. Like, not the edge of the seat. I was right off it.
It's just interesting, and it's a lot of. I've seen it from the Rod Peterson show about asking people too. How did you feel about the comments? And from what I've been reading on social media, people they're put off with them, and they're not even so much put off about him calling out the penalties, because I do agree. Again, 307 yards and penalties is absolutely insane. Mind you, I thought some of the penalties were absolutely ridiculous. And it's interesting point too is when you're just to bring up some statistics from the CFL. The CFL averages 13.6 penalties per game in 2024, the lowest it's been since 1974. It's also true that the Argos only had 11 players on the field for the game-winning drive, which again, Ryan Dinwiddie ripped his team a new one. Have we not seen it in the NFL where they put the wrong number of players out by accident? It happens.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Especially too, the Argos were down 8 starters. Things like that are going to happen.
Well, look at what Flyers lost their Grey Cup with the 13th men on the field, right?
Oh man, that was absolutely.
I mean, that's a bigger mistake than what the Argos did.
But Chazzy, I kind of want because you've been quiet as a mouse.
Oh, I'm just sitting here enjoying.
I'm sure you're wishing
you need popcorn.
I'm sure you're wishing you had your popcorn right now. But
I wish I had some.
Do you get my frustration, or do you think I'm overblowing it?
No, I get your frustration because I know how passionate you are, and I know how long you've followed the league, and you know the league, and you take this league quite serious, and you stand behind this league. And yes, we're all Canadian, and I just find, yes, some of his comments were a little excessive, and I don't know if someone must have peed him off or whatever, but that's why I asked the question, is it talking about the game of if you're trying to grow the game, you got to have more like calling out the play calling, or mind you, in pro sports, it's in baseball too. We get mad at, okay, this pitcher's pitching, but they already have a pitch count for him and they're pulling him after 5 innings, right? It's just the way the pro game is now. And I could see him criticizing the game, but there's a different way of like not criticizing the game. Like, it's a passionate fan base that follows the CFL. And we all know you go down in Vegas, and the cab drivers or some of the locals, they're all talking about the CFL, and they know the game. And yeah, it's quite odd, because I do like watching Luke Willson and his NFL outtakes there. But for him to go over to the CFL and then sort of make these, I don't know, I just find it abnormal. And TSN and even CFL trying to grow the brand. And we talked about it earlier. This is the time for CFL to grow that grassroots Canadian brand. And I don't know, that's not probably part of a tactic in the strategy book to do this. So
I don't know. For me, it's just, it would kind of be like if you're working for Coca-Cola and then you went out saying it was the worst drink ever made. And that's what's bothering me too. It's like realistically, you are making money by working in the Canadian Football League, right? Because TSN has hired you to do a job. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be honest and say how he feels about things. But to call the game hot garbage and to criticize the amount of quarterback sneaks and to get wrong about how many explosive plays there were in the game, and to all these other things along the lines, and to complain about the rules. To me, this just felt like a 12-year-old schoolgirl who didn't get the boy she liked to ask her out for a cookie, and now he's just whining like a brat. That's what this felt like to me, and I think it's disgusting. TSN has done absolutely nothing about it. They're thinking this is just going to go under the rug. It'll be very interesting the next time if Luke Willson is on the sidelines next game. Because I'll tell you one thing, I haven't heard much from other players besides Bo Levi Mitchell, but the players are not going to like these comments either.
No.
Where our players are already mad at the Elks GM, who, by the way, was given some crap for what he said about no star players in the league. And he did have a strong talking to with the new CFO commissioner. I'm gonna say it's too. The new CFO commissioner's got to be pissed.
Oh yeah, because it's like Stephen A. Smith, right? Like it feels like Luke Wilson's trying to have his Stephen A. Smith moment, but I think Stephen A. Smith is like a big name.
Yeah.
This is a big name guy. Like he does the same kind of thing with the NBA. But at least he's got a lot of figures. He's got a podcast, and even though he says a lot of silly things about the NBA, he also brings in a lot of attention. Who does Luke Wilson think he is? He's a borderline. He was a backup tight end of the NFL. There's just some big name player that's going to bring in all this. That's allowed to go up there and say these controversial takes and things that his controversial takes on TSN is going to get him all this traction to be the next NFL host. This is just going to make him look unprofessional at the end of the day. And like you said, Jacob, it's like he's embarrassing his own sport by not even, like, at least the players respect Stephen A. Smith. Now you got the players hating you. I agree with you. I don't know how TSN is sitting right now and still can even let this guy on the TV. You want to bring in a Canadian that played in the NFL, bring in someone who actually appreciates the game. You just basically brought in someone from the NFL who thinks this game sucks.
So, like, why not bring in Chad Ochocinco?
Yeah. Someone who
actually
actually
NFL, big name, really complimented the CFO when he played here. And it's interesting. I don't know if you boys ever go on Reddit. And I know Reddit can be a cesspool, but it can also be an interesting place for conversations. And there's been some interesting points here. The Packers were a man short when defending the 49ers in a game-winning drive in the playoffs a couple years ago. The 2-minute drill, the fact that a team can have a touchdown drive with 1:39 left, unlike the NFL, where you can just take a bunch of knees. Like, it's just interesting to see, right? That there's a lot of people not agreeing with what Luke Wilson is saying. And I haven't seen very many people defending him. And I am honestly looking for both.
Yeah.
Well, listen to what you guys
I
said.
am trying to find both. The most I can see is people saying that the penalties were ridiculous.
You guys said he's on the sidelines. Like,
he is, and that's what I'm
player,
wondering about. Like,
if I'm on a player and you see him during, like, I don't know, you want to avoid him? No.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. It's
If
a really
you're gonna
comment by a Rough Rider fan. My 16-year-old and 16-year-old nephew were at the game and losing their minds of Alford running it back. Our whole house was cheering. How is this not creating a younger audience, fans, that we can have 3 lead changes in under 2 minutes?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I'm going to call out TSN too.
Yeah, I don't think TSN's handled this very well.
I mean, don't forget, this is the company that started Bell Let's Talk Day, which is a great, great thing. And then they have Dan O'Toole, who is Jay White's co-host and a hero, and they can him for having a mental health issue. Hello? I mean, you can't say you support mental health and then can your best celebrity because of mental health. Like, they got to make a statement here and get rid of Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson is to go with Sportsnet and cover the NFL and Sportsnet, because Sportsnet doesn't have any CFL deals. They don't talk CFL on the show. I mean, you can't even look up CFL stats on Sportsnet. I tried. I was curious one day.
Really?
The only thing you can look up is the score. So you can see Saskatchewan beat Toronto 39-32. And the reason why for that is because TSN has all the rights to it. So just completely can him out of the network. You know, your Sportsnet does a lot of NFL coverage too. Put him in the NFL and call it a day.
So it's interesting here now, too. Luke Wilson is also fighting on Twitter with CFO News, claiming that he has had a bunch of players thank him for his comments, yet he won't say who the players are. If it makes you public enemy number 1 on Reddit, so be it. It's just remembered they are saying football that will live forever in all leagues. The film never lies. I can say certainly there are a large number of CFL players who want to grow this game. They want more coaches. They want more resources. They want more allowed time for the team to study and prep for games. These guys are true pros. They want to be perfect at their craft in the field. Saying, and I've received a crazy amount of thank you messages, everyone from front office coaches to players, both past and present. I just find it very odd.
Who are they?
Well, also, too, like, dude, you guys find this weird that a professional professional person here is fighting with people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And actually, Michael Blair makes an interesting point. Making another interesting point, saying, I've not seen a post about the CFO on Twitter becoming a thing. Granted, the viewers Luke's post did last night. Whether you're young or old, whether you're in favor or not, you were talking about the CFL, and that's what matters. Luke is what the CFL needs, but he needs to find a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of to your point. I'm just finding it very strange that Luke Willson is fighting so much.
Let's be honest, too, here. Luke Willson, acting all cocky as he is, rest in peace of Mel Stiegel's son. If Mel Stiegel's son didn't pass away, Luke Willson would have not had the job. Because Mel Stiegel would still be on the panel, and Luke Willson will still be sitting on his couch doing whatever he does. So for him to open his mouth and say all this stuff, I mean, it's not like he's some CFL legend has been commenting on it for years. If Mil Stiegel had something to say about the CFL, people would actually listen and take it seriously. But Luke Willson?
It's interesting. It is interesting though, and I'm kind of just going through Twitter now. He certainly, more people are angry with him than defending him.
Yeah.
That's good for the game, though. I mean,
it is. I mean, it's certainly
sure.
stirring up a lot of conversation.
Well, as my boy says, Kanye West, I love this man. Any controversy is good controversy. I love that guy.
What's also interesting, though, since he said these things, Luke Willson has not been on Overdrive. He has not been on Sports Center with Jay Onroyd. I think TSN is basically hiding him.
Interesting.
But you're not seeing this cool down.
I think it depends how Luke Willson and TSN plays over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I just think if you want to criticize some of the plays, fine, but to basically call the game hot garbage is just not.
Well, the big moment is, you're talking about a couple of weeks, Jacob, screw that. Let's see what happens on Thursday. I think Thursday's the next CFL game. Or
yeah,
Friday.
But he'll be on Friday. Next game's Thursday, but he'll be on Friday.
Okay, so let's see what happens on Friday. Does he come out and say, hey, I'm sorry, my emotions got the better of me, blah, blah, blah? Or does he carry on like if it's another Tuesday? Then I think it's going to be a problem. Even if he comes out and apologizes, I think people are still going to hate him. Wayne Gretzky's wife has come out and say, oh, he's heard about Canada, blah, blah, blah. No one cared what your wife said.
He is also on Twitter calling out the league for having a salary cap for coaches and training staff now as well.
I actually think that makes sense. I mean, I don't know why the Maple Leafs.
There's a salary cap for like how much a team can pay in coaching in the Canadian Football League. It's to basically try to not give an unfair advantage to certain teams. Like, example, like MLSC has so much more money to spend than individual owners like in Hamilton and Edmonton. Exactly.
I think it's a good rule. I mean, I don't know why the Maple Leafs don't take advantage of that and spend $100 million on coaching. Like,
and it's interesting too. Like, I don't know. It's just one of these things. I'm okay with him criticizing plays in a game. That's not my issue.
Sure.
My issue here is that I feel he's calling out a league that he is currently making money off of.
Yeah.
And he's on a professional broadcasting form.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just, and like, I'm just kind of going through his Twitter as we're talking now, and he didn't even get the scoring right.
Yeah.
Like, according to him, there was only one touchdown that entire game, which also isn't true.
We saw multiple touchdowns.
Like, if you're gonna go on and on like this, at least,
as Jacob said when we were talking off camera, there was an NFL game this past season. The score was 6-3. That sounds like a hockey score, bro. Not football.
It's just a very weird situation. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
I don't know, boys. I'm just not a fan of what he's doing here. I think
it's classless.
It's interesting too on Twitter. You're seeing a lot of Americans also defending the Canadian Football League.
Well, look how there was talk St. Louis wants a CFL team, right? I mean, I was surprised. I gotta admit, Jacob, I didn't know this until you started doing your show, the old show up in the Sioux. But when you talked CFL on your old show, you had people from Texas messaging you all the time, and Tennessee and Nashville and Florida, and like, Vegas, like what Chazzy said, right? Like, there's CFL fans all over the world. I've even seen like Argo fans in Scotland, for example. And you look at it, yeah, maybe the Argos don't get the most attendance because being in Toronto or whatever. But their social media has 10 times more than any other team following in the CFL. They have hundreds of thousands of followers online.
Now, I'm also curious about this. I wonder how other broadcasters are feeling and not just us. Because he also tweeted out, and this was back on June 5th, I will be the first man in history in the world to tell the truth about the CFL. I don't know. I just think like you're being such an arrogant jerk, and you've been here a hot minute. You had a mediocre NFL career. It's not like this is Gronkowski was arguably one of the best tight ends in NFL history.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
he won a Super Bowl. That's fantastic. But
look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has said that he wants to end his career in the CFL. Look at Rookie Williams, arguably one of the best running backs in history. He played in the CFL. Jacob said OJ Simcoe. What's his name?
Chad Ochocinco.
Chad Ochocinco. Never one that played in both leagues. There's a lot of players that played in both leagues. And they all say the CFL is a harder game. You got a bigger ball. You got a bigger field. You got more players on the field.
I'm not saying it's a harder game, but it's a different game. And to just be comparing them and complaining about novelties of it. By the way, Luke Willson is the same man who I remember in a broadcast said that he wanted the tush push banned, which I don't understand banning illegal play. Don't get mad about it. Just stop it.
Yeah, literally.
But I think it's time to move on. I honestly, I could probably rant about this for 6 hours.
We happen to get rammed on it.
But maybe this is a live show conversation to this whole Luke Wilson thing.
We have a lot of comments.
This whole and put it on social media. But let's move on to some free agent frenzy here. And before we unveil the next 5 big players that could be on the market, Lane, you have some more NHL free agent news.
Yeah, so I got trolled by X. Ha ha, hee hee. I'll admit, you guys got me, but I got the official report. And there's one thing I won't be on the Streakers side of the podcast. I'll be dashing, and I'm also going to be correct. So I'm going to correct myself right now. We're going official to Elliot Friedman for the official trade that actually did happen with JJ Peterka. So this is the official trade. I made sure to check mark is there. I'm not going to get trolled this time. You sneaky guys.
Yeah, he's on Sportsnet now.
So the official trade is Josh Doan and Michael Kesterling. So a young 23-year-old forward and another defenseman, which I am confused why, because Buffalo seems to have an abundance of defensemen. I don't understand why they think they need another one of those. For JJ Peterka, and JJ Peterka has officially signed in Utah 5-year deal at $7.7 million for a total of $38 million for JJ Peterka. Now I've been reading. Now while we've been arguing about Luke Wilson, I've been reading a lot of people really be like, I don't know what Kevin Adams is doing. Why didn't he just take the RFA compensation? At this rate, he would have gotten a first-round pick this year.
Why?
What's this guy doing?
Well, I'm surprised that they moved Josh Doan. I didn't say this, but one thing I was thinking about in the draft, I was thinking of Toronto making a move for Josh Doan because Shane Doan, his dad, a legend, is now an assistant GM in Toronto to Brad Treliving. So you think if Utah was going to move him, you would think he'd be going to Toronto. I get that Buffalo's closer, but like the poor guy, he can't look out of a window now. I mean, you look at Max Domi and Ty Domi, right, being in Toronto, but Toronto's known for bringing in sons of NHL calibers to the team because they understand playing for the spotlight and being a Maple Leaf and blah, blah, blah. It's just a very confusing
This isn't.
I think they
interesting
paid a
to me.
little too much to Jake Peterka, but I think Peterka is just going to get better and better. I think Peterka is going to be much better on a better team like Utah. You look, maybe right now, 7.7 is a little expensive, but in year 3 or 4 and 5 of this contract, you're laughing to the bank blow. This is a very good trade. Utah makes Utah a much better team.
And the
Buffalo,
reason why this works out so well for Buffalo, I think Josh Doan's got a really high ceiling. And
I agree with you.
Let's be honest. Some people say, well, you should have done it with RFA giving away. Like, this is a weaker draft class. Everyone's been very blunt about that. And I kind of feel like Josh Doan is a guy with a lot of upside who could help your team now. And I remember, too, Buffalo's not done making trades. You brought in Michael Kesseling because you're looking to move another defenseman that you have. I've been hearing rumors about one. I think it was Bowen Byron who could be on the move next out of Buffalo.
I can see that. Do you like this trade?
Yes, I actually like this trade for both sides. I think Utah gets better now. Buffalo gets something for an asset that they could have got nothing for. And the thing is with draft picks, it could end up being a total disaster. Look at Neil Yakupov.
Like,
look at OKC though. We just we were just laughing in the group chat of he traded Paul George for 17 draft picks and look, you got a championship out of it. Like, yeah, you can say it can't, but it also
17 draft picks, Lane, is very different than one.
I know, I'm just saying, but my point is, your Buffalo. Like, I'm looking at this Buffalo is in a position right now, not to be disrespectful to the organization. I'm sure they're trying, but they're in a really tough window where it's kind of a fire sale at this point where Kevin Adams really needs to just get rid of everything, sell the house and buy a new one. Just needs to get rid of everything on that roster and start over again. I think the best way to do that is just get draft picks and start from square A again instead of trying to get all these players that are going to leave it. Because I look at it, you think Josh Doan's going to want to stick around here in 3 years?
Yeah.
No, he's not. Probably not. And Michael Kesseling, you think he's going to want to stick around? Probably not.
Who else is going to take him?
I'm just, but it doesn't matter. My point is,
Kesseling is kind of just a depth player.
Doesn't matter. Why would you stay in Buffalo? Why would you stay in Buffalo? This team is continuing to go downhill, Dan. It's like,
I get that, but
you're not going back up to the top to ride down again. You're trying to go home. You're trying to get down the ski hill as fast as possible here.
I get that, but someone like Kesseling, no disrespect to him, but he could be a 4th defenseman in Buffalo versus a team like Toronto. He's a 6th or 7th defenseman, not getting ice time, right?
I don't know.
I legitimately like this trade because of Josh Doan.
I just want to point out with Josh Doan, too.
3 years max.
He is a great player. He got 18 points in 51 games. He was only a -2. And he only took 8 penalty minutes in the whole year.
I really like this kid. I think
I've seen him play when I was watching a couple Utah games. He's very physical. I remember him even back in the Coyotes. He played a couple games with one of the last Coyotes games after they dressed him, which was very nice, honorable mention. And he was a great player. Again,
I could see this trade actually being the start of Buffalo bringing in a new core.
You think so?
I'm not saying Kesseling. I think Kesseling's just he's just another bottom 6 defenseman. I think this Josh Doan will be a very good player. I think he wants to be closer to his family, so we might stay in Buffalo. And I get you're saying Buffalo's a dumpster fire. Well, you need something to start to put out the dumpster fire, and maybe Josh Doan's the first bucket of water.
Maybe.
I think it's a great move for Utah as well, though, because I think Utah's trying to get to the playoffs now.
Utah's great.
JJ Peterka helps you get there now.
Oh, yeah.
And the fans must be so excited having a new team. They got their name. They got their logo. Now they just brought in arguably a franchise player for Utah. I mean, they signed him long-term. The fans got to be through the moon right now.
Like, very reasonable.
Yeah, I think so, too. I would have liked to see him about 6.5. I think he's like Matthew Knives money, but 7.7 is not unreasonable.
But it's also interesting, Lane. You also have in here another move with Vegas.
Yeah, so it's Elliot Freeman. Apparently, he never goes to bed. I can't imagine he's a busy guy right now. He tweeted, "Brendan Saad is going to be signing with Vegas along with Riley Smith." So he was. Someone had asked him if he'd heard anything. He replied in a retweet to an account just shortly after the trade saying, sounds like Brendan Saad will be also staying in Vegas along with the Riley Smith. It's almost connected. So
I loved him in Vegas. I mean, I always liked this player for whatever reason. He always stuck out to me. I get he really struggled in St. Louis, and I get he didn't do much in the playoffs, unfortunately. But as a night last year in the season, I thought he was a great fourth line player. Like, he had 14 points in 29 games, plus 6, and didn't take a single penalty. And even in St. Louis, I get he fell off this year, but he still got 16 points in 43 games. I mean, he was a minus 14. Yeah, well, that was a hiccup. But, I mean, Brandon Saad is not a franchise caliber superstar player, but he's one of those depth players that you look at Florida. Like, that's why, Jacob, I disagreed with you when you said a weaker draft. It's these depth players that make the difference to get the Stanley Cup.
No, but Dan, when I
look at someone like Davis and Matthews, they cancel each other out. It's the depth guys that compete against each other that gets you the victory.
No, but Dan, what I mean by a weaker class is like normally there's all these superstars. I would say this year there's one.
I get that, but
one
who cares?
Superstar's Marner. Then there's a lot of good, very good players.
I mean, Pavel Datsyuk was an eighth round pick.
But it's in what people are looking for. But last episode, we went over our top 5 players, 1 through 5, going to be available in the market. Now, this is my list. I'm curious if Dan, Lane, and Craig agree with me or not. Now, mind you, this list is truthfully, I am ranking players in very different places than TSN because I think TSN is out to absolute lunch on some of their where they're ranking some.
I haven't even seen her. Let's be honest.
The 6th player I have is Brock Besser.
Yes.
Then I have Michael Granlund. I think he's a very underrated player. I think when we're looking at the type of players that teams want. Then I have John Tavares. Yes, I would take Michael Granlund or Brock Besser over John Tavares. Then I have Claude Giroux. And to finish off the top 10, Dmitry Orlov. I think Dmitry Orlov might be your absolute steal of a contract in free agency. And I was really flipping back and forth between Dmitry Orlov and Jake Allen. But
I think you made the right decision.
But at the end of the day, that was the decision I went with, and I'm sticking to it, boys. But out of those guys there that we just went over, who's someone who you could see really making a big difference to a team on the market?
Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I really like this guy. Only people I would have flipped on our list, Jacob, was Michael Granlund and John Tavares. But Blockbuster, I get he had a poor year last year with 50 points and 23 goals or whatever he was. That's poor for him, mind you. But the year before that, he had 40 goals. I think we could see that again. Last year, there was so much. We talked about it here on the island. Last year was so much drama between Patterson and Miller. Like, the whole team needed lifeboats and life jackets, like it was bad, bro. So the fact that Blockbuster still got 50 points and all that mess, I think he's a great player, underrated player. I could see, again, a team like Toronto going after him to try and replace Mitch Marner. I don't know if you're interested, but I'll just say it. Since I'm the calculator, I saw Jacob's list in the script, and I put the money factor that I think these players are going to sign for. Jacob put Marner between 11.4. Oh, is this a different topic? Oh, no. Anyway. So I think Blockbuster is going to get about 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think Granlund's going to get about 7.5. I'm with you, Jacob. He's a very underrated player. John Tavares, I think if he doesn't sign in Ottawa or Toronto, I think we'll get 8. I think Claude Giroux, he's not the 100-point guy he used to be, but I think he's still a great, valuable player. I think he's going to sign about 5.5. That's why I look, maybe he takes a little bit of discount to come to Toronto. If you can get him at Toronto $5 million instead of Tavares, I think they kind of do the same thing. Claude Giroux might get a little less points, but if you want to change the DNA and culture, Claude Giroux has to have leadership ability. And Dmitry Orlov, call me out to lunch. I think he's only going to sign about 3.5. I don't think people are going to give him the big spending. And I think a
Okay,
team
more
is
than
going to
that.
be really sneaky and sign him. I think he's going to be a great signing.
He's going to get more than that.
Oh, 100%. Probably get like 7.
Hearing though about some of these guys here though, TSN is reporting that the Vancouver Canucks are the Ottawa Senators are interested in Brock Besser.
Like, that'd be huge.
I think that could be a big piece for. I think that could be a really good one for both sides. I think Brock Besser needs a fresh start. Also hearing that the Buffalo Sabres might be interested in him as well to replace some of the offense from Berturka. So it'll be interesting there.
11 in Buffalo.
I do think though with Orlov, he's going to get 6. I think he'll get 6 in the open market. He's a guy that's made some, has been a very, very good player.
Great player.
Coming up to Carolina, right? Too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was quiet in the playoffs, though. That's why I think his value is going to dip a little bit.
It's defenseman, though, Dan.
I get that. A defense class is not as strong as free agency as
you don't rely on You don't rely on scoring in the playoffs for your playoff success.
I get that, but you talk about him all the time. Man, look at Jacob Slavin, right, and how big of a beast he was to Carolina. I think Dmitry Orlov was arguably kind of a weak point to Carolina's defense on the defensive side of things.
No, not at all. And just to say why my list is very different than everyone else's. Most people have Dmitry Orlov at number 19, and I have him at number 10.
What?
Yes.
19.
Also, a lot of people have Jonathan Drouin higher than Claude Giroux.
What?
And
a piece of crap.
And actually Brad Marchand. So it's a very interesting free agent frenzy we have coming up. Now, I'm curious if you guys agree with me or disagree. I first originally was making lists like these, I had John Tavares in my top 5, and he slipped for me he slipped into my top 10. And a lot of people have Tavares as like a top 3 guy on the market. I just don't because he doesn't have the playoff success. And I think teams are more looking for playoff success right now. Like I think Sam Bennett is worth more than John Tavares.
Let's be honest. Besides the Mitch Marner, so you say top 4 are Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, and Brand Bassant. Right?
Yeah, 3 out of 4 of those top guys. And even Nikolai Ehlers, I wouldn't say he has had 0 playoff success. Like, he's not a cup winner yet, but he's a solid player.
Yeah, I really like Ehlers.
But I'm curious if there is. I want to go around the room. And Chazzy, I want to start with you because you're the Habs fan here. Congratulations. My manager at my other job's a Habs fan, so you two should go out for bagels one day. But is there a guy now out of the second half of the bottom half of the top 10 that you could see Montreal really taking a run at?
In a fantasy land, maybe a Besser or a Giroux.
Funny enough, I thought Brock Besser for Montreal right off the hop. I find they love guys that have been underperforming that they think they can get more out of.
I actually think it could be Dmitry Orlov because it was very sad that Savard retired, and you have to replace that, right?
Yeah, true. I think Montreal's going to be more looking for offense than defense. But when I'm looking at my list here for my bottom half for Toronto, I'm going to pick someone I think Toronto's going to go after. I think Toronto's going to go after Granlund.
Yeah.
He's a bigger, physical guy. Can move from your top 6 to your top 9, no problem. He's playoff tested. That's the type of guy you want to get if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Call me crazy. To me, Granlund and Carson to the Maple Leafs don't really do anything for me.
Why?
Why not?
I get the good players. I really do. But you're talking about changing the culture of Toronto, right? Oh, that's that crazy. I just don't think we need more European players. I think we need more Canadian physical fighting.
Michael Granlund is physical. Finnish players play just as hard, if not harder, than Canadians.
Okay, but I'm not talking physical. I'm talking Sam Bennett knocks you out physical. Oh, Nazem Kadri. Oh, like a Darcy Tucker type of player. That's who Toronto really needs. No, I'm not.
I look at it. I think Granlund's a great player, and I think he'd be a great fit in Toronto. So, Dan, but you're looking at that one. Then, who would you take out of that for Toronto?
For Toronto, I love Dmitry Orlov, but I want to take him for Toronto because I think Toronto's defense is very solid. I'm not going to take John Tavares because of the controversy with the money right now. So I would take Blockbuster. I get Blockbuster's not the type of guy who's going to beat anyone up, but I've seen Blockbuster play live. I really like him. I thought he was I know he's American, but I think he played really well for Team USA. The key is you need someone that Matthews is going to like to play beside him since Mitch Marner is gone. And I think Blockbuster could be that piece. I get he's not a setup guy like Mitch Marner was, but he's a very talented winger. And he got 70 points on Vancouver. Imagine what he could get playing with beside Matthews and hopefully Knies. Maybe he could be a 100-point guy in Toronto. We don't know. Because we always saying, oh, well, what's Matthew and Knies going to do without Marner? Well, we don't know what Marner's not going to do without them either. Maybe they're just a type like Sidney Crosby. You can put any player beside them and they'll do well, right? So,
and Dan, you to kind of interject there, people are asking, like, what will Matthews do without Marner? We've already seen that, and he scored 69 goals.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember, he was playing with Domi and Bertuzzi that best year he's had.
That's true.
Now, mind you, Marner, one of his best years was playing with John Tavares instead of Austin Matthews. So it'll be interesting.
And
but
don't forget, too,
I don't think Blockbuster is really the type of guy you're
about.
looking for in Toronto, though. I think Toronto, you're looking for more grit, more playoff style players. I don't.
Blockbuster's not
good. Blockbuster's good, but I don't think he's what you're looking for in Toronto. I would take Claude Giroux or Mikael Granlund.
Oh, I forgot about Claude Giroux. Yeah, that's who I said earlier. Yeah. Okay, I changed my pick to Claude Giroux.
Lane, do you see anyone on this list that kind of excites you so far out of our bottom half of the top 10? Or do you kind of think this is just proving the point about a weaker free agent class?
No, it definitely is weaker, 100%. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I kind of agree with what some of the people have said. Just maybe they should just, I was listening to Craig Button the other day. He was on Jay Onright, and I kind of agree with what he's saying that maybe the Leafs should try to find a player here that's on a 1-year deal. That's kind of you find a 1-year kind of guy that's on a $6 million deal that the teams are trying to get rid of. You try to find a Chris Kreider here, or you find a guy that a team's looking to get rid of. You take a gamble on him.
Did he just get traded to Anaheim?
Yeah, I'm just saying. But that's what I'm saying. You find a guy like that. You find a Mason Marchment. You find a Kreider. You find a Peterka. You find somebody who's kind of maybe not going to resign a year from now. You take a gamble on some of these guys. You play your team out as a wild card instead of trying to, and then you go next year when the UFA class is not only way better, the cap's going to go up another $10 million. So you're going to have more cap space. It's going to be a better UFA class. And you can argue the Leafs could still be a wild card team with Matthews and Nylander and Knies and whoever, and some of these guys they plug and play. They've still got a great defensive core. They've still got 2 solid goalies that can go play 40 games each and put up good numbers. You don't have to. Yes, the Leafs are going to be bad this year. It's 100%. They're not going to be as good as they were this year. That's not a debate. That's not a lie. That's just the truth. They are going to be a worse team. So roll with it for a year. Be a middle of the card team. Finish in the wild card. See what happens in the playoffs. You'll probably go in the first or second round again. Big surprise, and then go swinging next year when the UFA class is way better.
I don't think you're crazy.
Our team's going to leave the cap space to make more moves at trade deadline.
Yeah.
Or as Chazzy pointed out on Tuesday,
who?
Chazzy. He's literally
Chazzy's right there.
I thought you said Cabby. Cabby on the streets.
Chazzy is better than Cabby, but I think we're going to see a lot more trades coming along. And I think remember too. We're going to go over our next group of 5 on our next episode, and there's still a lot of good players available. Don't get me wrong, But I do agree with what Lane is saying here, that this class is not as deep in high end talent.
And don't forget, I'm sure we'll do a free agent show.
Oh, yeah, I heard it's surprise noodle. We gotta
we'll
wait.
Do a draft show live, so stay on the social media, folks. Even though the sports are over, we'll still be live with great content.
Sports are not over; they're just getting started, bud. But anyways, I just think it's interesting here about these guys that are left on the list. Time will tell if anyone excites me. Dan, you putting John Tavares at $8 million is a complete joke. He's not worth $8 million. Brock Besser's worth more than $500,000 more than John Tavares. You need to get your calculator recalibrated because of the age. And Claude Giroux and John Tavares are very comparable. So if Tavares is getting 8, Giroux's getting 8. Anyways,
this is what I think.
Well, you're wrong. Let's head back to the football field for a little bit here. And injury bug in the Canadian Football League is biting very, very hard.
Uh-oh.
We may see next to no starting quarterbacks in week 4.
Oh, yeah.
So Trevor Harris, game time decision with concussion symptoms. And if you're a Rough Rider fan, you're really uneasy. This could be the 3rd straight year that Harris gets injured before the halfway point.
Yeah.
So that's tough, right? Well, Trevor Harris is the oldest starting quarterback in the CFL, and it'll be tough. Davis Alexander is also a game time decision for the Jordi Alouettes, as he has that I think he tweaked his hamstring. I also wonder too, maybe this is going to sound weird, but do you wonder if after what we just saw in the NBA Finals of Halliburton in a game that's not as a critical game, you have a really good backup quarterback in Montreal? I would be really surprised if Davis Alexander starts this week.
I agree with that. Bethel Tops is a great backup.
Continuing down the quarterback train. Drew Brown, not looking like he's going to play this week.
Dustin Crum back in.
I would assume it'd be Dustin Crum again.
He looked really good last week.
Great. I'm sure Luke Willson would have flipped out that Ottawa was able to win by only scoring 20 points. He would have complained about that too somehow. Duh, I want more 3-yard rushes. But also, no word on Chad Kelly yet out of Toronto. Mind you, because Toronto doesn't play until Sunday, they wouldn't really be practicing probably until about Thursday. So seeing who will be taking first team reps will give us a better idea probably by this afternoon. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be out Brady Oliveira for a 2nd straight game. I think this Oliveira injury could end up being a bit longer than people are hoping. I'm surprised he's not on the 6-game injured list yet. So time's going to tell there. And Rourke and Masoli are both splitting team 1 reps. They have not named their starter for week 4, the BC Lions. I'm assuming it'll be Nathan Rourke, because Rourke looked like he could have played last game, in my opinion. So now the bigger question is, does Nathan Rourke actually make BC that much better? Because I felt Rourke versus BC and Masoli versus BC, it didn't really look much. I mean, versus Winnipeg, either or, it didn't really look much different.
Well, in their defense, it was against Winnipeg.
I don't care. And Lane, you have some news about the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I will let you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, we got some interesting news. I want to hear about. The first thing that was tweeted today was that, and I wonder if you're going to have to fill me in on how good he is, because I might be sad, but looks like the Ticats have made a shocking release today. They've released linebacker Kyle Willson. 29-year-old had 11 tackles in 2 games this season and led the club with 88 last year. Also, for the injuries, Daniel Bell and Greg Bell will not be playing against the Alouettes as long as Robert Paniker, the defensive back, and Reggie Stubblefield will both be out. So
no Stubblefield too. That's a big loss for Hamilton. He's the guy they brought in from Montreal. Was really expected to be the real bolster of that defense.
I wonder if the Argos to go after Wilson.
No, I doubt it, because the linebacker core, unless McManus is out longer, then we don't know about.
Well,
which again, no word on McManus yet either. But I'm surprised here, right? With that move from Kyle Willson, he's a very dependable linebacker.
I like him.
Really anchored the defense for the Tiger Cats. Lane, I don't know. Maybe this is an attitude problem. Maybe this is Levi Mitchell just throwing darts at the wall, trying to make something stick, because you're 0-2 again to start the year. And this is what I'm always interested to see too. Well, coaches panic from a bad start. And so far, Toronto, we have not seen any cuts, which we thought we would after Ryan Dinwiddie's message after the post game. But it's interesting.
give
51 career
credit.
games
I
in the
think he's
CFL.
taking
Kyle Wilson's got
credit.
156 tackles, 10 special teams tackles, 2 sacks, an interception, and 3 forced fumbles. Like he's a good player. So I'm surprised by this move from Hamilton.
I give Dinwiddie credit. I think he wanted to cool down and look at it with a cool head before he made a crazy decision. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if his attitude problem. I agree with cutting them, but I agree it makes sense to, maybe he's going to wait till next practice, right? Wait till we say we're playing on Sunday. So maybe he'll make the practice on Thursday and makes a decision on Friday. I think it just gave the team some time to regroup and cool down. It's good not to make a drastic decision like that with a hot head, right?
Also, I forgot to mention Nick Dembski's also a game time decision for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers against the Elks.
Oh boy.
So Winnipeg's offense, that'll be interesting to see because you don't have Lawler and that group anymore. So you're relying on Nick Dembski a lot more, which, I mean, he's a phenomenal. If anyone doesn't know, this guy's a phenomenal wide receiver. He can play running back. He's a hell of a player.
Oh yeah.
1,000-yard guy every year. He's a very, very, very dependable player. So there's a lot of injuries. Time will tell to see what goes on. But I think we're going to see some interesting lineups this week because you think about the only starting quarterbacks might be Zach Collaros and Vernon Adams. Which, again, people in Calgary are not very happy with VA. I'm saying Calgary fans, slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, Calgary does have the bye this week. So, yeah, it'd be Trey Ford and Zach Collaros might be your only 2 starting quarterbacks this week. Which, fun fact, Nick Arbuckle is leading the CFL in passing yards. That's a very weird stat considering they're 0-3. And I think Arbuckle's first 2 games weren't anything to write home about. And Nathan Rourke might be playing. So we might see half starting quarterbacks, half backups. I'm still really concerned for Ottawa more than any team about the quarterback situation because they just don't seem to like to run the ball.
Why, God, exactly.
I don't know why they went out and got William Stanback and they're not using him.
I know, it's a great puzzle. I don't get that at all.
But time will tell. But we have a very busy week 4 in the Canadian Football League. And, of course, all CFL games are in the Streakers app. Like, everyone. Like, if there was a game being played in someone's backyard, you could still put that in the Streakers app if you wanted to. Chazzy could show you how. He's a smart cookie. But let's get into week 4 here. And I want to start off with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Edmonton Elks. Who wins this one? Mr. More for your money. Who wins this game? The Edmonton Elks or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Boy, this is a really tough decision. I was making my streakers picks, which we'll talk about in the props, and I didn't clue into me these 2 teams are playing against each other. Even though my props might say differently, I think Edmonton's going to take the W here. Edmonton looked pretty good last week, and I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah, I will say I thought Edmonton took some real strides last week, and we could be playing against a banged-up Winnipeg. But now I want to go to Mr. CEO himself, the Chaznator 6.7. Who are you taking in this one, the Blue Bombers or the Elks?
I'm going to agree with the more for here and take the Elks.
Oh.
Wow. Lane Dashing Dashco.
Elks. I'm
an Elk fan, or do you prefer Fighter Jets?
I mean, as much as I would love to see the Elks win, because I still believe in Trey Ford, I'm going to have to give this to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I know Zach Collaros didn't have a good game, but I mean, that could have also been because he didn't play his first week, and then all this drama with the phone call. He's having issues. He might need to switch providers, apparently. But I think Zach Collaros is going to bounce back against the Elks. They're still a young team trying to figure things out. They're going up against pretty much one of the most dominant teams in the West. I think the Blue Bombers take it home here.
I'm going back and forth on this one because I don't think Winnipeg, I think they might be a little overrated right now, and people are putting them as the best team in the league right now. I've only seen them play BC. However, Edmonton did lose to BC. But I think Edmonton has grown. I'm going to take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but it's going to be a close game. I think if Edmonton can start on time and play a full game, it's going to be a very close one. So right now we're split right down the middle. So if you agree with more foreign Chazzy, send Lane and I a rivalry. If you agree with Lane and the self-proclaimed sports analyst. By the way, Lane is a play-by-play and a color commentator guy, and I have been a self-proclaimed sports analyst since I came out of the womb. So agree with us and challenge Chazzy and more for it. But let's get into some of these props because
Chazzy's the CEO of a sports company, Will, so he knows his stuff.
Yeah,
I'm the CEO of my own life. But let's move on to our props here. And I'm going to start off with Mr. Chazzy. Will the Elks defense get 3 interceptions?
3.
I said it high.
I'm going to say no. They might get 2.
Will the Winnipeg Blue Bombers rush at least 120 yards against the Elks defense that has struggled to stop the run?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to go say 100%. I think that's not too many yards. I think they can do that.
Mr. Moore, for your money.
Yes, sir.
Will Zach Collaros throw at least 2 interceptions?
No.
I challenge you on that one. He will throw at least 2 interceptions.
No, he was a little like lazy, a little shaky last week with the phone call. Why he's going to be better.
I think Zach Collaros will actually have a downfall year, and I will wonder if there will be quarterback controversy by week 5.
Nah, B.
If he has 2 more bad games after the first game Trevor had, there will be controversy. I didn't think Collaros looked very good last week.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Ford's going to get over 225 passing yards in this game.
I thought Lane was going to get that one.
I wanted to take that one because the reason why I'm saying this with Trey Ford is I think the last game he got over 300, but as much Montreal doesn't want to admit it, their defense did back off a little bit. The game before he was under 200. I think 225 is the magic number for Trey Ford for this offense to have success. Throwing the ball enough to keep them honest, but Edmonton will run the ball primarily with Rankin, Leak, and Trey Ford. This kid's elite. Now, quickly around the room, though, I want to ask combined points. 55 total, Lane?
Under.
Okay, we're taking the under. Dan, under or over 55 points?
Over. I think this game's going to be entertaining.
Really?
6 points, Dan's saying at least. Chazzy, 55 points, yay or nay?
Yes, if we're going to take the Elks, it's going to be high scoring, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. I think we're going to be around high 40s in this one. But
55 is a lot, man.
Hey, remember, according to Luke Willson, it's boring when we get 72 points. So who knows? Willson's going to... Now, that could be a prop for the Owls versus the Tiger Cats game. Will Luke Willson get a beer dumped on him on the sidelines? There you go. I can't.
In Hamilton?
I'm just having fun. I have a library card. We learned on Arthur that's how you have fun. But who takes the game between the Alouettes and the Tiger Cats? Lane, since you're the Tiger Cat fan here, your favorite year must be 1999.
Or 1967.
Wait, I don't remember. Lane, you're not a Cowboys fan, are you? To go on top of that?
But here we go.
Here we go. Who are you taking in this one, Lane?
I mean, heck, I think the Ticats got to win, but I am scared, man. The Owls have been the team to beat. They've been the only team to win so far in these, but I'm going to pick my Ticats. I think we've had an off week. We had 2 rough weeks. They've been close games. So we had an off week to kind of get back to the chalkboard here. But I am scared about this no running back game. That does scare me, but hopefully Bo Levi Mitchell can throw the ball here this week, and I'm going to pick the Ticats.
I don't think you're out to lunch taking the Ticats, actually. And
no run game, though.
I'm going to join you as much as it hurts. Because Montreal does not have Davis Alexander. Again,
that we know of.
The quarterback, but let's be honest, one thing he was not very good at last year was winning football games. And I think Montreal was getting over cocky and overconfident. Yeah, you've won 3 games, and that's cute, but you're not going to win them all. And I think Hamilton's got to win eventually. So why not? I am going to lay it on the line and take the Hamilton Tiger Cats, as much as that hurt me to say. Mr. Chazzy, who are you taking?
I think the Owls are coming from east west. This is their east game, so I'm gonna take Tiger Cats. I think they gotta win this game. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Three
Almost
Tiger
to save your
Cats,
season a little bit.
1 for nothing yet. Mr. Moore, for your money. Are you
Yes, sir.
going to swallow your pride and join the family? Or are you going to have to go to your own private spot on the island?
I'm going to take the lifeboat on this one. I'm taking the Alouettes. And the reason why I'm taking the Alouettes is I think I agree with Jacob that Bethel Thompson's going to get the start. And Bethel Thompson wants to prove he's still a top quarterback in this league, not a backup. And he's going to play hard to get the W.
Interesting point. Now let's get to our props. And Craig, since we can do this with the Streakers app, I would like to change the Tiger Cat rushing prop. Originally, I had this for 90 yards, but Lane informed me that they do not have a running back. So I would like to change this to 70 yards. Please and thank you.
I thought you were going to make it 9, to be honest, with what they have left. They don't have a fullback or a running back.
And you guys think we're going to win without a running game against Montreal? You guys are nuts. I'm challenging all of you to rivalries. I'm going to get a bunch of points, streaker points here.
So my question is now for Lane. Do you think Bo Levi Mitchell will throw at least 277 yards without a running back? The reason why I picked 277, why not?
Honestly, maybe be 300 at this rate.
So you're taking Mitchell for 277 plus.
Oh, yeah, I think it might be more.
Dan, you're a big MBT fan. I don't know if you like him shirtless or not. You've never told us that. But will he throw at least 250 yards?
How many?
250.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Easy, okay. Mr. Chazzy. Will the Tiger Cats be able to rush for at least 70 yards, even without their top running back? I mean, 70 yards in total, right? So that's including sweep plays and quarterback runs.
No, they're gonna sling it.
I think it's going to be under 50. I think it's under 50.
And I am taking the Alouettes to not get 4 sacks in this game. I think Hamilton's offensive line is going to do a better job. They've struggled the last couple of weeks. And I think Mitchell's going to be focused on getting the ball out of his hands quick. A lot of quick stop routes, maybe some quick cuts and drags. We're going to see more of that with Bo Levi Mitchell trying to do that short to medium game to then open the deep pass.
I got a prop for you, Mr. Jacob.
What?
Whoa!
Whoa! That's
Oh! Do we see Taylor Powell take over this game if Bo Levi Mitchell struggles early?
I'm going to say no.
No,
I want to give Powell a full week of practice before you put him in there.
I'm just wondering when that clock's got to be ticking at some point. Tick tock, tick tock, tick.
I think it's week 4. I think it's going to tick.
This is week 4.
Hamilton's going to tick already?
They're 0-2. They had a bye, Dan.
Oh, that's why I'm confused.
Now, question about combined points. 63? 63 or more. Wayne?
63. But no, I don't think so either. I think maybe 50s.
Chazzy?
No.
More for?
I'm going to say yes, because if Hamilton doesn't have a running game and Bethel Thompson's starting as quarterback, these quarterbacks are going to be throwing the balls really good. So
I'm also saying yes. I don't know why. My gut is picturing a barn burner.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking too.
So, I'm not letting that one go away. But let's move on now to the Lions versus the Rough Riders. This is their Saturday night matchup. Who's going to take this? The BC Lions or the Saskatchewan Rough Riders? I'm going to start and say the BC Lions improve to 2-2 and make the West interesting. Especially if Trevor Harris isn't starting. I'm sorry, Jake Mayer. You are not the mayor of Calgary as much as one of Morefor's friends thought you were. You are not a true starting quarterback in the CFL, and the BC Lions are going to get their offense going. Mr. Morefor, who are you taking?
I think Trevor Harris could start this game, and I think the Rough Riders are going to take it.
That was quick. Mr. Chazzy. Who are you taking?
This is going to be as fast as me going in a Costco. Rough Riders.
Lane, are you going to join the sports analyst, the self-proclaimed analyst that is? Or are you going to go up the CEO and the dude who looks half asleep?
I'm not half asleep. All my eyes are open. What are you talking about?
Who are you taking, Lane?
I'm going to take the Rough Riders here. I don't know if I believe in Mazzoli or even honestly Nathan Rourke. I think the Rough Riders have really good defense.
Yeah.
Now, if Harris does end up playing, which is his game time decision, I think their offense, even without, Trevor Harris, I think they can do good enough, especially with the running game. We saw AJ Olette, he can definitely run the ball. BC's defense is not the best. And I also think that their offense hasn't looked that sharp either. I got the Rough Riders on this one. But at least I gave a long answer, not just Rough Riders. Okay.
The great thing is now I can get a bunch of streaker points and I send, you guys rivalries. But now let's get into the props. And remember, all this is going to be in the sports booth. We have the best sports booth to ever booth. Will the Riders, Lane, rush for at least 130 yards?
The Rough Riders, yes. 100%.
130. I said it high.
I think you get AJ will get like another 80-yard rush like he has been getting lately.
Yeah. Will the BC Lions rush for at least 90, Dan?
Me?
Yeah, you with the face.
Nah, B.
Wait, I'm on the podcast.
Nah, B.
He's saying nah, B, which I'm assuming means no. Dan, don't use your young slang with me. I'm an old man.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'm younger than you.
Chazzy. Will the Rough Riders get 2 interceptions?
I feel like we're on a game show.
Yeah. It's like Hollywood Squares and the full squares, Yeah.
What do you think, Chazzy?
No.
No. Do you think the Riders are going to win, but their defense isn't going to do much?
It's like that dating show where you have the cards. It's like
No. You guys want to watch a dating show? Look up Ireland's version of a show called Take Me Out. That's something we should actually do a watch party of live.
And you have to guess what the other person's thinking.
Now, I'm going to go the guy with the most class here goes last. And I am saying that the BC Lions will get 3 total touchdowns in this game. I think their offense is finally going to find its groove. I think Nathan Rourke's going to start, and Rourke has something to prove. The last time he played in Saskatchewan, it did not go very well. Actually, he was the backup, but it still didn't go well, and he was the backup in the playoff game in Saskatchewan. So I think he wants to prove a point. So I think Rourke's going to have a big night. Now, combined 58 points. Yes or no, Dan? 58 points or more. Hurry up.
I'm going to say yes.
He's going to say yes. Chazzy.
Yes.
Slow down. Lane. Okay. 58 points.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go yes on this one. I think this will be a higher. I said no for the first 2. I think this one actually will be a higher scoring game.
Perfect length. I am also saying yes for 58 points or more because I think both of these offenses are going to get going. Even with Jake Mayer, if he has to start, they're going to find a way to put points on the board, whether it's the run game or maybe Jake Mayer surprises everyone.
You make it hard. Some people would be more than 2 points or something like that.
That would be stupid. Anyways.
Otherwise, it will be under 200.
Toronto Argonauts versus Ottawa Red Blacks. This is a huge game for Toronto. Huge. As the Argos do not want to go 0-4, and they do not want the Red Blacks to improve to 2-2. Or else they could be falling out of the playoff race. I know it's early, but still. Who wins this one? The Toronto Argos or the Ottawa Red Blacks? Chazzy.
I think you guys still got a stinger from last week. I'm going to take the Red Blacks.
Ooh.
Lane?
I got to agree. I think the Red Blacks, too.
Out.
I'm taking the Toronto Argos. I don't care if it seems biased. I don't need to be a professional. Toronto Argonauts are winning this one. No Drew Brown at quarterback, most likely for Ottawa. Dan, who are you taking?
They got it done last week with their Drew.
Poor Lane's ears at all of our viewers. Yes, they got it done last week, but that was in a game where nobody could pass the ball.
We have to put that on our social media sound warning at 158.50. Turn your speakers down.
Now let's get to the props here. Will the Red Blacks get at least 2 sacks, Dan?
No.
Ooh.
No.
Chazzy, will the Red Blacks throw at least 221 yards? I mean,
Yes.
220 yards. Yes. Okay. Screw it. Change it to 221. I like
Yes.
numbers.
Watch him get 220.
1 yard.
I will say here the Argos running game is going to get going, and they are going to get at least 80 yards rushing. I think Williams is due a good game, and I think Kevin Brown will be used more than he was last week.
Williams is
last
pretty good.
week you had it at 60, and I thought that was crazy, and they still didn't hit 60.
I know. I'm saying 80 for Toronto this week, though, because Ottawa does not defend the run very well. Mr. Dashinator.
I know.
Will DeMonte Coxey get at least 70 yards receiving?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think so.
I agree with you there. I think whether it's Kelly or Arbuckle, Coxey is going to be a hot topic, not like the clothing store. We're not sponsored by Hot Topic, but we could be. I'd love to see Dan in a Hot Topics shirt. Combined 60 points. Yes or no? Chazzy?
Ooh, 60 points? No.
Dashinator?
No, I don't like that. Too high.
More for?
Yes.
I'm going to say no. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, but 60 is around the average I've been seeing around the bend. So I went with it.
Am I just crazy thinking that these scores are too high, or am I just crazy?
CFL is a pretty high scoring lead, bud.
True. I just look at these scores, I'm like,
these are the analysts.
Well, see, he's a tie cap fan. So he's not used to high scoring games.
oh, that's true.
So let's move on now to the NHL entry draft. And by the census list, which these are just a bunch of other analysts that they've been putting together, we have Matthew Schaefer first, Michael Misa second, James Hangs third, Peter Madrone fourth, Jake O'Brien slipping down to not even in the top 5 anymore, which that surprises me a little bit. My number one question is here. Everyone's saying it's a no-brainer for the Islanders to draft Matthew Schaefer. That's what I'm seeing everywhere. I disagree. I think the Islanders move this pick and go for Michael Misa. They're desperate for scoring. They need offense. You already have Noah Dobson to run your defense.
Yeah,
you have a good defense in the Islanders, and there's a plethora of decent defensemen available in free agency.
Yeah,
Michael Misa is a generational talent, in my opinion. I'm trading down. Lane, you agree with the self-proclaimed sports analyst.
Yeah, and also, this is also kind of breaking news that I saw while we were discussing this as well. Cam Robinson, who works with Elite Prospects, is one of the people that put together these draft boards, says that from a league-wide source, sounds like James Higgins might be having to wait a lot longer than expected to hear his name called. So it looks like the scouting reports looks like James Higgins might not be even going into top 10.
Wow.
Why the drop?
I'm not sure. I just saw I know he's a big name on the Elite Prospects. They didn't really explain, but he just said he's got sources that told them that he might be waiting a while at the table.
All I know is I really hope the Vancouver Canucks draft Lucas Pettersson, just so they have another Pettersson, and they already have a Lucas Pettersson. They could have 2 Lucas Petterssons. That would make me happy. But I'm curious what you – so I know now Lane is in agreement with me, and Lane, thank you very much for that info. They would be interesting to see how far he drops. But Chazzy and Dan, you guys looked a little befuddled when I said I think the Islanders should trade down and not select Matthew.
I didn't befuddled. I agreed with you.
Well, you looked befuddled.
I agree.
Were you
I think the Islanders need offense hardcore. I like this Misa dude.
He should have made Team Canada. That's my hot take for World Juniors last year. He should have made.
Yeah, literally. I think he's a good player, underrated player, and he proved the Team Canada needed him. So yeah, I
remember too. Schaefer's coming off that shoulder injury as well.
That's right.
From when he got hurt in the World Juniors.
He did. Look at Morgan Wiley, his draft year. He drafted 5th overall when the Leafs got him because of his injury. I mean, if he wasn't injured in his draft year, he could have went 1st overall.
Also, Michael Misa last year for the Saginaw Spirit in 65 games had 62 goals, 72 assists for 134 points.
That's
This
what I
is the
mean.
guy I think the
Incredible
Islanders
player.
need.
Yeah,
Bring
I mean,
someone else besides Horvat and Barzell to score.
Yeah.
Interesting too. This is a guy too that's played. You know what? He played in for the U17 Canadian team too, and put up 6 points in 7 games. So I don't know. Like, he did that back in 22-23, and ever since he's been in the OHL, he's been a point per game player since he came to the OHL. And every year he gets better. 22-23, 56 points in 45 games. 23-24, 75 points in 67 games, and then 24-25, 134 points in 65 games, and a plus 45.
wow.
So I don't know. There's something about this guy. Also, he did play in the Gretzky Cup in 23-24, where he put up 8 points, and Team CHL in the Prospect Challenge put up 3 points in 2 games.
We need Blypup's expertise for this.
I know Brypup was saying before that Matthew Schaefer is the best player available. I'm not saying Matthew Schaefer is not a phenomenal player. I just look at the Islanders, and I would be either that, or do you even drop down a little bit and pick up a guy like Jake O'Brien? Bigger
He's a
guy
great
from
player, too.
Brantford, lot of really good offensive upside, and I'm not sure who has around that, like between 5th to 8th pick, but maybe you make a deal to bring in someone that can help you now and still get a good prospect. Depends how badly you want Matthew Schaefer to play with Noah Dobson. That's the $1 million question if you're the Islanders.
Noah
Like,
Dobson's
Chazzy, do
very
you think
underrated.
Matthew Schaefer is the guy for Noah Dobson?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Okay, Chazzy has spoken. The Islanders can now call Chazzy for all future endeavors.
I think they're going to take – I don't think they're going to move this pick.
I don't think they will either, but I think I would have.
But
The time will tell.
at 1 or 2, you can't go wrong with either one of these studs. So
You really can, and it's interesting enough where people talk about this draft class being weaker. Like Ryder Ritchie's a great player. Anton Frundel's a really good player. Peter Marone's a really good player. Like, I think there's a lot of very good players available in this draft. So it'll be very interesting. But I want to move on now to the Toronto Raptors, and we will have more on the entry draft. We might even do a show. Who knows? We're very
I
busy.
think so. Live
RJ Barrett, Canadian boy, always wanted to play for the Raptors. Probably had Raptor pajamas when John Tavares picked them up on sale at Target. Target was a thing in Canada for briefly. Apparently the Raptors are shopping him. They were trying to move him in a Kevin Durant deal, which didn't happen. I'll be honest, I'm actually quite happy the Raptors didn't get Kevin Durant. I'm just putting that out there. I think Durant's more on the fall off, like J. Cole's album that's never coming out. I don't understand moving. I don't get why we went out and got Barrett, Ingram, Barnes, and Tucker, and we're not going to try it.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Like, it's not. I don't think trading, because everyone says, well, they did the same thing with DeMar DeRozan. Completely different situation because you were one piece away from winning a championship. I want to ask more. No offense, Dan, but more to Lane and Chazzy. Bringing in, let's say even they traded RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, and they brought in Jonas Antetokounmpo. Does that make the Raptors a contender? I don't think it does.
No.
And that's my point. When they went out and got Kawhi Leonard, like, Dan, you can remember, I was furious when they made that trade.
Oh,
But
you were
got
so
the
mad.
championship.
I was like, I don't know why you're so mad, Will.
Because DeMar DeRozan was
I did. I was like, oh.
Honestly, I see what I hate to say it. I see what the Pacers are doing. I feel like the Raptors are kind of going down that road. Like,
I know, and I kind of just, why not give it a try for a year?
Right.
I don't know why we. Oh, and Emmanuel Quickly. That's the other player who I was forgetting.
Yeah.
You have a pretty good starting 5.
Yeah, you do.
you can add to the bench and just you have a pretty good team next year.
Well, and the Raptors, too, towards the end of the season, we were talking at one point towards the end of the year that the Raptors were in a playoff hunt right up until about the last 2 weeks.
I didn't buy it.
But Dan, there's a difference between the hunt and them actually making it. But, like, you started to believe that maybe this team has a brighter future. And I I don't know. I like RJ Barrett. I think he's a slasher type guy who likes to drive to the hoop. We saw with OKC. You don't have to shoot the three. You don't have to shoot the three a lot to win a championship, right?
Lane, what's a slasher?
A slasher?
Yeah.
Like someone who cuts to the net and like kind of slashes their way in and kind of like someone who's like
Vince Carter was a slasher.
Dude. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Goes to the net, dunks the ball, kind of gets it to the paint and jumps up and dunks the ball in.
Cool, I like it. I'm a slasher.
So I don't know. I'm interested. I'm really interested in what Chazzy and Lane think about RJ Barrett. Like, are you guys a fan of his? I am.
Yeah, I think he's a really good player.
So why move him?
He wants to be here.
But why move him?
I don't know. Unless the only thing I can think of here is that Masai Ujiri's on another one of those. You better make this team good. Now, I want your guys' opinion on this because I've actually had a hot take on this for a long time. I've never been able to say it on a show, but I actually want to go around the circle. So let's just look at Masai Ujiri, for example. Like, I don't understand why a team for like the Raptors and the Leafs did this, especially with Kyle Dubas, kind of put their leaders in a position where it's like, if you don't do this, then you're fired. Because no, but like, hear me out here. Like, let's rewind the clock, right? You, instead of just firing Kyle Dubas based off the performance alone, you gave him an ultimatum and you said, if you don't get this team to this spot, you're fired. But because then what happens is, and this happens all the time, it's not like this is a once in a while thing. This happens literally every single time they do this. The president or the GM makes desperate moves that sets the franchise back 5 or 7 years because they feel like they have to meet this quota, and then they don't, and then the team, like the Leafs, is fired, which is a good example here because that's what Kyle Dubas did his last year. He went out and made all these crazy trades for Jake McCabe and all these wild trades, last-minute traded all these draft picks, all this draft stock to get a team that ultimately didn't meet the match, and now we're set back. I don't understand why they do this because I feel like they're doing this down to Masai Ujiri, and I get it. He's had many years of unsuccessful since the championship, but then just fire the guy and find the guy you want to replace him with. I don't understand like putting him in this position and be like, well, if you don't win the championship, you're fired. Because then he's going to go out and he's going to trade RJ Barrett. He's going to trade half the starting roster for one guy. He's going to make a desperation move. It doesn't work. Then the Raptors are set back 10 years. Am I right or wrong?
I actually think you're right. Like, because you look at it, it was like when
it happens a lot
to still be good after the Kawhi Leonard situation. Maybe if you just blew up right when Leonard left, right? Maybe we'd be a better team by now. Where instead the team kept hovering. Oh, they're okay. They'll get out first round, second round. We'll hover. And then we've been DO double dog poop the last couple of years. And now it feels like, you know what? You've started to build a core, but now there's all this pressure on Masai Ujiri to make the team win now. So instead of leaving the group the way it is for a season and see what they can do, you're making a rush trade. Now, I do want to say I don't fully agree with you in a way, Lane. As much as I said I agree with you in a way, I don't fully agree, and I'm going to explain why. I look at it when you are given a job, you have a task that you need to achieve. And if they are telling a GM you need to make this team a winning team by X amount of years again, well, then that's your job. If you don't meet the criteria, we all have objectives when we're at work.
Right.
We have to hit those objectives or we don't keep our job. So I'll be honest, I am a little surprised Masai Ujiri is still the GM of the Toronto Raptors, especially if he makes all these crazy moves now where you've put together a core and you're not even going to let them try. That's what I don't think. Why are we in this core?
That'd be like me going to Chazzy and saying, I want you to make the Streakers Island podcast the number one podcasting platform by tomorrow, or you're fired. It's like, well, that's just not going to happen. You can no, but I'm just making an example. Like you can't, like it's almost like you're putting too much pressure, right? If you haven't been happy with them for 3 or 4 years, why are you now going to go out and give them an ultimatum that probably won't happen? Why don't you just fire him and cut your losses loose? Like and I'm not saying the Raptors are the only team that do this. There's a lot of teams that do this. They seem to put all their eggs in one basket. You're not firing him. You're keeping him. You're not firing him. You're saying, well, we'll let it go this year. Well, we'll let it go this year. And then all of a sudden, it's like, we'll make the finals. It's like, okay, I understand. Yeah, you're given that. That's your job. We all have jobs. You're right, Jacob. We all have to do our job. That's what we're paid to do. But at the same time, it's like now you're almost giving that person or that GM or that president of that organization something so unbelievable that it's like no matter what he does, unless they do pull off another Kawhi, which again is a 1 in a million shot. That did happen, yes, but that's a 1 in a million. That doesn't happen all the time.
And that team was very different, right?
Oh, way different.
Like, that Raptor team was actually good. You had a lot of good pieces. You needed one piece to get over the LeBron James hump or the Steph Curry hump, and then you went out and did it by bringing in Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, you had to lose DeMar DeRozan to do it, but I don't feel the Raptors are a Jonas Antetokounmpo away from winning a championship.
No,
I really don't. I don't think this team is there, and I think they're kind of building what the Pacers have done. Just build a solid starting five with a deeper bench instead of a bunch of high-end talent. And you still do have a guy like Scotty Barnes who can put up 20 a game easily. RJ Barrett, I think, can put up 20 a game. Brandon Ingram, I'm really excited to see what he does in Toronto. I just kind of want to see what this team can do for, I don't know, at least the first quarter of the season before I'm making any harsh judgments. And if the season's a write-off, the season's a write-off.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my 2 cents, at least.
I agree with you.
I am so glad you agree. I want to make myself bigger and you guys a little bit smaller. That's how much I'm happy about the agreements. We've already talked quite a bit about the draft fiasco in Toronto. We'll probably pick that up again, probably either during a live show over the weekend or a next week's pre-record. But I want to ask you, Chazzy, you said that the Jays really needed Max Scherzer back. He was back on Wednesday night.
Today.
How did you assess his game?
I didn't see his game. I just saw that they lost. I didn't see all his pitches, but
in extra innings,
they lost a close one in extra innings. But no, absolutely, the morale in that club is for sure big.
So I watched quite a bit of that game. Actually, I thought Scherzer, he struggled at times, but I thought for his first start back was able to pitch through 5 innings.
That's pretty good though. 5 innings for his first game back.
Oh
yeah, I was actually quite happy.
For sure.
It's these close games that are gonna bite you at the end.
But the problem
again,
is, right?
Try again.
We're seeing the Jays again, right? They lost the series to the White Sox. Now you lose the first game to the Angels. If you lose this series to the Angels and then lose the series to the Red Sox, going into the series against the Yankees.
The Indian or Guardians.
Yeah, but you have the Red Sox coming up too, right?
Yeah.
And the Yankees. You got to win these series. And especially now against teams that either you're comparable or better than, you got to beat them.
I will say, at least it wasn't a blowout loss. There was but
it doesn't matter. A loss.
Still, Yankees are struggling. This is when you got to win.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think the Jays are in a little bit of trouble. Like, they got to win this series, right? Like,
and the Rays are warming too, so.
The AL, we knew the AL would not be this bad forever, right? Like when everyone was kind of struggling. Then the Jays started to get going. But now the Jays are doing what the Jays do. Whenever they get on a big winning streak, they always fall apart afterward. Remember I said it, they got to at least stay consistently okay after a winning streak before they can hit their next one.
Oh,
and right now they're
500.
I get they're over 500, and that's all fine and dandy and love and roses. But I need more out of this Jays team than what I'm getting.
Yeah, I see that.
But time will tell with the Blue Jays. I just hope they can pick up the pieces before it's too late. I know it's only June, but you have an opportunity with the Yankees really struggling. This is your opportunity to get some wins and get back in the AL race.
Well, I hate to say it, we're at the end of June already. Like, we're almost halfway through the season already, you know?
We're halfway there. Whoa!
Oh,
the Jays need to get up the stairs.
Quickly, back to the sheet of ice. Did you guys like the idea of an added 2 games to the regular season?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Except I would change the added 2 games into a best of 3 wild card race. Because we're having too many teams tied up. So for the last wild card spot, that should be a best of 3.
Yeah.
That would be interesting too.
Now, is this the most games? I can't remember in a season. 84.
Well, no, there's baseball.
No, I mean for hockey.
Yeah, they're in general.
Because they went to 80. They were at an 84 game schedule a few years back. No.
Chazzy, you're older than me, so I don't remember that, but maybe.
I just felt like they were there, then they went back, and now they're contemplating of doing it again.
I think they're always 82. The only time you see a player play 84, 85 games instead of 82, it's let's say they get traded halfway through the year and they played every game, and the team they played for whatever reason, they played more games. Because every team plays the same amount of games, but they play them different times of the schedule, right? So you'll see someone get traded on deadline, and if their team has played 68 games, get traded to a team that's only played 65 games. If they finish the year of the 65, technically would have played 84 games instead of 82.
Bless you. Big sneezes, but luckily it's not too loud for Lane's ears. But no, the way they would go to 84 games is they would cut 2 preseason games for each team.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't want 2 more regular season games. I want a best of 3 wild card playoff.
So the only time the NHL scheduled 84 games was in 92-93, and the 93-94 season were the experiments, and then we had the lockout in 94-95.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then they shortened it in 95-96 to the 82 game schedule.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's just dating my age, I guess.
Well, you think in theory you would have 80 more games because you think about
80 more games.
No. I mean more games than 82, not 80.
Oh my gosh!
When you think
the player's gonna be on the ice. Okay. We have the 8th string goaltender from the ECHL for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, but when you think about it, okay, we've had 82 games since Chazzy said 95 or whatever. Back then, you only had 26 teams in the league. There was no Nashville, Columbus, what were the other 4
Arizona,
teams?
Atlanta, a whole bunch of them.
Anyway.
So, yeah,
what I'm saying is there was that 2000 era where they drafted, they brought in 4 more teams. Then after that, you bring in Vegas and you bring in Seattle. So arguably speaking, you have 6 more teams than when you had 82 games. So you would think in theory, if there's more teams,
I still
would
want
have to play
more instead of more regular season games.
And you have all these salary caps going, the cap going up $5 million. So the money's got to come from somewhere, I guess.
Well, that's the only hiccup, though. You look at players like, I got 100 points, I'm worth $14 million. Well, if you have 2 more games, in theory, you have more players hitting 100 points, right?
I don't know. I just personally think, again, I want more playoff games. And just to kind of counter on my point, for what I'm suggesting, we would have saw Montreal versus Columbus in a best of 3.
Oh, cool.
And then we would have saw Calgary versus St. Louis in a best of 3.
Oh, that would have been wow.
Right? That would have been exciting.
Yeah.
If we're talking
about
adding
gas
3 or
for the
4
next
more
round
games,
anyway.
let's add more playoff games, not more regular season games. I don't care about Chicago playing San Jose in game 84 in a game that means nothing. We need more meaningful games.
This wasn't even on the strip. We just started talking about it.
Because Chazzy does what he does. He plays by his own rules. He's a man with a plan.
I'll be missing a few of the live shows this weekend because we're camping. So I wanted to get that in and get you guys a spot. So
interesting.
Wait, are you camping or glamping?
What do you call it? Yeah, camping
Camping.
Camping trailer. Yeah.
Man, I haven't done that in
Tents.
so long.
Trailers.
Dan does not like bugs, so we can't
Trucks.
go camping. We camped in the living room once when we were like kids.
Golf
Golf
carts.
carts.
But
Just being in its
Washi
trailer.
tubs.
before we go, Dan, what is your island mindset?
Well, I put in a strip hero, and I wanted to.
You
keep
did not
it.
put hero, by the way.
Well, I put.
HEOR.
Well, it's like letters in
Eeyore.
odd order. But anyway, I put that in because I want to keep Jacob guessing, right? It's been amazing doing this podcast, and we didn't know if it was going to work or not. We just started at random. Back we started practicing back in December, and we started doing it in January, and here we are 7 months later. We're just flying through, and thanks to Jacob's leadership and Chazzy getting it going, and thanks to Lane for joining in, being a great viewer, joining in. We got a great team here. And one reason why I decided to do a podcast is because of one of my Canadian heroes, Don Cherry. When the world went against him, he didn't just give up and say, okay, I'm 85, I'm going to be retired. He worked for another 6 years on his own podcast. And now, after over 300 episodes of him doing his podcast with his family, by the way, it was pretty awesome. His son was the producer. His daughter would come on and talk, and his grandson would do the editing and stuff. So very cool, family-oriented, just like us here on the island as a family. Don Cherry decided to retire at the age of 91. So I just want to show that, the age is just a number. You're never too old. You can keep going and going and going. And when the wrestling world takes the opportunity away from you, just don't give up and make your own opportunity like what Don Cherry did. So thanks for everything he did to the country. And he really is a true Canadian hero because he lost his job based on supporting veterans, which is insane. So stick to it, believe in, support your country, and never give up.
But all I think this tells me is that Chazzy, as much as you're the oldest one on the podcast, you can still have a dream.
I mean it that way.
That's what Dan's saying. Chazzy, you're old, but that's okay.
Chazzy's only halfway through. He's still got double.
We got to go. This has been the longest episode of Streakers On podcast history. So congratulations.
Yeah. We were 222 last time. We got 226.
Make sure you download the Streakers app right away. Like, do it. I don't care if you're on the toilet. Okay, if you're driving, wait till you pull off the road. But download the Streakers app. I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. We have Lane Dash and Dashco. Look how dashing this man is. Dashing us of them all. So who needs Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? We have Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
And we have Chazzy, the CEO, 6.7. More updates.
Wait. I want to point out one thing. I know it's Lane got a new microphone, so get on you, bud.
Yeah, I didn't get a new microphone, but I just brought a sound chickens.
I like it. It's cool.
But
Nice.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Lane's new old microphone. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.